What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4KN Chapter 58 All parties are shocked. Vinsmoke initiates surrender, please customize. Hiss including Chris, the 3 Commodores, 8 Colonels, and 3,000 elite Marine soldiers around him. When they saw the scene in front of them, they couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, and their hearts were shocked. In the sea not far away from the warships in front, the Germa kingdom, which was composed of 10 giant warships. At this moment, it was forcibly split in the middle by a sharp and shocking slash. In two. Starting from the giant warship in the central area of the Germa kingdom, it crossed all 5 warships on the left and split the warships in the middle. The hulls of the 5 giant warships cracked and collapsed. The buildings, castles, and factories on the Germa kingdom were destroyed beyond recognition due to the amazing destructive power brought by the slash just now. Looking down from a high altitude, it can be seen clearly. Starting from the center of the Germa kingdom, a crack that runs through the 5 giant warships on the left, like an abyss, splits the entire Germa kingdom in 2, splitting it directly. You know, the entire Germa kingdom covers an area of no less than tens of kilometers in diameter, and can accommodate hundreds of thousands or even millions of people. As the most unique and special movable kingdom on the sea. Never could have imagined that one day, the Germa kingdom would be forcibly divided from the inside with a slash. These scenes fell into the eyes of Rear Admiral Chris and other Marines with great clarity, causing them to be shocked and horrified. Their shocked mood was like the surging waves on the sea at this time. The waves that hung upside down in the sky like the Milky Way fell from the sky, like a downpour, and returned to the sea. However, it caused a series of sea currents to hit each other, and the splashed seawater filled the air. Indistinctly, there was even a faint curved rainbow in the sky, which was full of hazy beauty. Hualala, the sea surface that was split by a sharp and shocking slash gradually began to heal, and the seawater blended with each other. The sea surface crack that ran through dozens of kilometers became smaller and smaller. Whether the sea was split or the Germa kingdom was directly cut off, these shocking phenomena were deeply imprinted in the minds of all the Marines present. This deep memory made them unable to erase it in this life. Even if the cut sea has slowly begun to heal and return to its original state over time, but the shock left in the hearts of more than 3,000 Marines is still difficult to dissipate. Not only was the sea split apart, even the entire Germa kingdom was forcibly split in half by that shocking slash just now. Unbelievable. As the only movable kingdom in the sea, the Germa kingdom unexpectedly ended up being split in half by a single blow. What kind of terrifying power is needed to split the Germa kingdom in half? Chris and the Marines around him lost their voices one after another, revealing their deep horror. Most of them had never witnessed such an amazing sight in their lives. And it also made them deeply aware of, what exactly does the real strong man in this sea look like? Even the entire kingdom was split in half by a single blow. This is the real monster of the sea, Chris Rear Admiral, who did this? A Marine Commodore looked at Chris and couldn't help asking weakly. Until now, including Chris, the shock felt by all Hainan people has not stopped. Everyone is very curious. He was able to split the entire Germa kingdom with such a shocking blow, and even split the sea in half. Who exactly is this person? Even if we look at the entire sea, there are only a handful of great swordsmen with such amazing swordsmanship, right? Can he do it as strong as the world's #1 swordsman Haki Mahawk? Another Marine colonel blurted out. No one could answer. But their hearts clearly tended to believe that the swordsmanship of the unknown great swordsman who split the Germa kingdom and cut off the entire sea at this moment might be even more terrifying than the world's #1 swordsman Haki. A mysterious great swordsman who can challenge the world's #1. Chris was deeply moved. He thought about it and asked, the shocking slash that split the Germa kingdom just now seemed to come from within the Germa kingdom. But, as far as I know, no member of the Vinsmoke family is good at swordsmanship. FFLX. Who is the great swordsman who made such a stunning slash from the Germa kingdom? This question made Chris rack his brains but couldn't figure it out. The strength of the Vinsmoke family lies in their ability to develop various powerful technological weapons. It's not that they are so powerful. Obviously, it is well known that the Vinsmoke family is not good at swordsmanship. Then the question is, who on earth made such an amazing slash from the Vinsmoke family's base camp, and even the Germa kingdom was split in half? Just when Chris and his Marines were puzzled, a weak voice suddenly sounded from the crowd. Chris Rear Admiral, do you think it is possible? A Marine made an extremely amazing conjecture. The world's top swordsman who split the Germa kingdom and cut off the sea with one sword, he is actually Colonel Luen. After all, so far, in the Germa kingdom, only Colonel Luen is the enemy of the Vinsmoke family. Apart from this, I think there shouldn't be any other people who can forcibly split the entire Chengma kingdom in half. After the words fell, the whole place was in dead silence. Silence. All the Marines were dumbfounded, their eyes wide open, and they were stunned. Hiss. 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 One by one, the Marines took a breath of cold air, making an indelible contribution to the annual temperature rise of the entire sea. Don't say it, your guess, kid, makes me dumbfounded. You know how to analyze. You dare to say such a guess? Colonel Luen is only 15 or 16 years old. How can he have such a terrifying level of swordsmanship? This is the level of swordsmanship that has reached the world's top level. A world-class swordsman. Could it be that Colonel Luen, at the age of 15 or 16, has become a terrifying existence comparable to Haki, the world's #1 swordsman? A group of Marines exclaimed in surprise, however. After a brief analysis, they had to admit, although the guess made by this Marine was indeed a bit too shocking, even subverting cognition. But this seems to be the only logical guess, FFFFLX. The mysterious swordsman who split the Germa kingdom and cut off the sea with one sword is actually Colonel Luen. A world-class swordsman who is only 15 or 16 years old. Are you sure I'm not dreaming? What kind of monster is Colonel Luen? The Marines were getting more and more shocked. Chris, Rear Admiral, do you think this is possible? 3 commodores and 8 colonels looked at Chris and asked. Chris couldn't answer for a while, although this guess is logical and consistent with the current driving conditions. But the biggest problem is that a world-class swordsman who is only 15 or 16 years old is still too unbelievable. This is also the most unacceptable thing for Chris. Could there really be a monster of this level? If that earth-shattering and terrifying slash was really the work of Colonel Luen, then there is no doubt about it. Colonel Luen definitely has a swordsmanship level comparable to the world's #1 swordsman Haki. An unprecedented, world's top swordsman who is only 15 or 16 years old. Chris was so shocked that he could not calm down. He paused, looking at the Germa kingdom that was split in half in front of him, looking at the mess, ruins, and wreckage on it. The Germa kingdom, which was originally full of technological beauty, now looks like an abandoned wasteland. Chris opened his mouth and said, if Colonel Luen is really a great swordsman of this level, then, we don't have to worry about Colonel Luen's personal safety at all. We should be worried about, it's the Vinsmoke family. I hope they won't be killed by Colonel Luen, at the same time. With that shocking slash, it penetrated from the interior of the Germa kingdom, first splitting the entire Germa kingdom, and then directly splitting the entire sea into a crack of dozens of kilometers. It made the entire sea surface look as if it was forcibly cut off. These scenes made the spies from the North Blue Dark World, who were hiding in this sea area, show great shock and fear. They only felt a burst of creeps and tingling scalps. Witnessing the scene of the sea being cut off, and then looking at the scene of the entire Germa kingdom being split by a knife. A chill instantly rose from the soles of their feet to the top of their heads, and they trembled all over. Really? Is this something a human can do? The entire Germa kingdom was split apart, even the sea was split apart. Only what level of power can do this? How can he be so powerful? Even the Shichibukai Haki, who is known as the world's greatest swordsman, shouldn't be able to do it. Who is this person? When did a great swordsman with such a terrifying level of swordsmanship appear in North Blue? He is as strong as a monster. The Germa kingdom is finished. The Vinsmoke family is also ruined. The spies sent by various forces in the Dark World were all shocked without exception. At the same time, one person made a guess. You say, could it be that the monster swordsman who split the Germa kingdom and cut the sea with one sword is the boy who was invited to come to the Germa kingdom alone to negotiate with the Vinsmoke family on behalf of Marine? As this speculation was spread, everyone was immediately shocked. Are you kidding? If I remember correctly, the boy who came on behalf of Marine and was responsible for negotiating with the Vinsmoke family seemed to be a 15 or 16-year-old boy? What the hell is 15 or 16 years old? A 15 or 16-year-old boy can have the swordsmanship level to split the Germa kingdom and cut the sea? Am I crazy? Or is this world crazy? If this is really the case, it means that North Blue is really going to have an unimaginable monster. Germa kingdom. Conference room. The atmosphere was dead silent. The head of the Vinsmoke family judge, at this moment, was looking at the split wall of the conference room with a look of shock, fear, horror, and horror. He stared blankly at the split wall of the conference room. Through the split crack, he even vaguely saw the scene of the sea outside that he witnessed along this crack dozens of kilometers away. It was as if the entire Germa kingdom was split apart. Otherwise, how could he see the blue sea dozens of kilometers away from this crack? How is this possible? Judge's eyes widened, his whole body stiff, and he was at a loss. His eyes followed this crack that ran through dozens of kilometers, and he saw the sea outside. It was for this reason that he could not accept it at all. His whole brain was blank, and his thinking was scattered. The scenes he saw before him undoubtedly completely overturned Judge's cognition. His worldview was completely shattered and collapsed. The wall of the entire conference room was cut off, and the huge Germa kingdom was forcibly penetrated by the crack that ran through dozens of buses. The crack extended all the way to the sea outside. All of this had a strong impact on Judge's mind. Even a world-class scientist like him could not bear such a heavy blow. He looked confused, lost, and in a daze, not far away. Reiju, Ig, and Niji, who were lying in the corner, looked pale, terrified, and shocked as they stared at the 10 cracks that penetrated most of the Germa group. All this shows that the monster boy in front of him did not lie. He really did it. He also single-handedly split the entire Germa kingdom with one sword. He destroyed the entire Germa kingdom. It's unbelievable. Neither Reiju nor Niji could have imagined that such a thing would happen in reality, and they would witness it with their own eyes. Gurgle, Ig couldn't help swallowing his saliva, and was shocked and lost his voice. How could it be so strong? What kind of monster is this? One sword actually split the entire Germa kingdom. It penetrated the Germa kingdom for dozens of kilometers. Even the defense devices inside the Germa kingdom obviously couldn't withstand the terrible destructive power brought by this slash. Beside him, Niji's eyes were filled with fear and trembling as he stared at the marine boy holding a samurai sword in front of him. The fear in his heart was infinitely magnified, completely dominating his body and mind. So strong, Jows, he is only 15 or 16 years old, but why is he so strong? He has such an amazing swordsmanship level. Is he really a monster? Has he been practicing swordsmanship since he was in his mother's womb? The two brothers lost their composure completely. Reiju was shocked and lost his mind. Even if he is as strong as the world's #1 swordsman Haki, his swordsmanship level is only this high, right? Could it be that this 15 or 16-year-old boy in front of me has the swordsmanship level to become the world's #1 swordsman? Reiju was terrified, and the more he thought about it, the more frightened he became. So, what kind of monster did our Vinsmoke family invite this time? Before this, we actually tried to take this monster as a bargaining chip to force Marine? This is simply a crazy test on the road to death. I wanted to take this boy as a bargaining chip to coerce Marine, but now it's completely ruined. Reiju sighed. Now, even the Germa kingdom is in trouble. It was split in half by a knife. The subsequent repair work may not be completed in a year or two, and it will cost countless manpower, material resources, and financial resources. The Vinsmoke family suffered heavy losses. When Reiju thought of this, he felt regretful. If I had known this, I might as well start negotiations with the other party early. No matter how much it costs, it is better than choosing to be an enemy of the monster in front of you, causing the other party to destroy countless facilities, factories, and buildings in the entire Germa kingdom. Father, do you still insist on taking this monster down now? Reiju had a bitter look on his face. On the floor of the conference room, the cracks and valleys created by that shocking slash had already directly connected to the sea under the ship, and from time to time, the pleasant sound of the sea currents hitting each other could be heard. At this time, Judge forced himself to suppress his vibrating emotions. He looked at the boy holding the samurai sword with a complicated expression. After a long time, he lowered his head. I lost. I surrender to you on behalf of the Vinsmoke family. Chapter 59 Kizaru arrives. Power up, Yasukani no Magatama, please customize. Judge gave in. Even though he was a man of steel, facing the boy holding a samurai sword, facing this monster that could split the Germa kingdom in one stroke, even Judge had to lower his proud head. He was already regretting it at this moment. If he had known that this would be the result, he would have promised the other party certain benefits early on, negotiated with Marine in a peaceful way, and honestly redeemed the young son Yuji. Now it's good. The person was not redeemed. The negotiations also collapsed. Even the Germa kingdom, the base camp of the Vinsmoke family, was tragically split in half by the monster in front of him. The facilities, factories, and buildings inside were also tragically destroyed. The overall cost of the Germa kingdom is extremely expensive. As the world's unique and most special movable kingdom, the Vinsmoke family spent countless manpower, material resources, financial resources, and energy to build the Germa kingdom. And today, the Germa kingdom was tragically cut in half. According to Judge's preliminary estimate, if you want to restore the Germa kingdom to its original state, it will not only take a year and a half, but also consume countless berries, and at least consume a huge amount of wealth of 200 to 300 billion berries. Wouldn't it be nice to use this money as a ransom to redeem the young son Tongzi? Why bother? Why provoke this monster in front of him? He can only make up for it. He should surrender on behalf of the Vinsmoke family as soon as possible, so as not to be in big trouble if the monster boy in front of him makes a move again later. Judge had no doubt. The monster boy in front of him definitely had the strength and means to destroy the entire Germa kingdom and forcibly sink the Germa kingdom. How could there be such a monster in this sea? He roared and questioned silently in his heart. A boy who was only 15 or 16 years old had a physique comparable to that of a monster. Even his swordsmanship had obviously reached the world's top level. Judge was knowledgeable. As a scientist under the world government, he had seen many great swordsmen. Among them, he had even witnessed the scene of the current world's #1 swordsman Haki taking action. But even as strong as Haki was, he was far less horrible than the oppression brought to him by the knife-wielding boy in front of him. What does this mean? Judge was shocked. But who is Haki? Recognized as the world's #1, what about the boy in front of him? Only 15 or 16 years old, a mere marine colonel. This is also what made the most incredible thing for Judge was. A boy who was only 15 or 16 years old, his swordsmanship level was higher than the world's #1 swordsman Haki. Can you believe this? If this news spread, no one in the entire ocean would believe this kind of subversive thing. Haki practiced swordsmanship for decades to get to where he is today. But you are a 15 or 16-year-old boy, why? After thinking about it, Judge could only attribute everything to this boy is a complete monster. This monster has an unprecedented and unparalleled swordsmanship talent. It is countless times more terrifying than Haki. Only in this way can it be explained why this boy is only 15 or 16 years old, but his swordsmanship level is already close to Haki, and even surpasses Haki. The more Judge thought about it, the more frightened he became, and his scalp tingled. He secretly sighed that he was too unlucky. North Blue is so big. The entire ocean is so vast and boundless. Why did they, the Vinsmoke family, have to live in North Blue? Blue, a tiny place, has provoked such a terrifying monster. Judge blamed himself. The Vinsmoke family lost all their money this time. Blood loss. Blame him for being impulsive. I thought that no matter how strong this boy was, as long as he was in the Germa kingdom, he would be controlled and slaughtered by them in the end. I never thought. This boy's strength is so strong. It's not unfair that the Vinsmoke family lost to such a monster. Losing is losing. There's nothing to explain. I lost with my heart. I am not as strong as others. Judge comforted himself silently, which eased the bitterness in his heart. Not far away. When they saw their father Judge bowing his head and admitting defeat, both Reiju and Ig fell silent, and there was no resentment or anger in their hearts. It can only be said, the gap in strength between the two sides is too big. The gap in strength is so big that it has completely exceeded the imagination of the Vinsmoke family. The gap in strength is like a chasm. One is the sky, the other is the earth. So, it is reasonable for Judge to choose to surrender. He really wants to completely destroy the entire Vinsmoke family. Otherwise, he can only bow his head and admit defeat to the knife-wielding boy in front of him and take the initiative to surrender. This is also the only thing the Vinsmoke family can do at present. Continue to resist stubbornly. It is purely to cause greater losses to the Vinsmoke family. Didn't you see that even the Germa kingdom was split apart? How dare they continue to resist stubbornly? These young people nowadays are as strong as monsters, and they are clumsy and have no sense of justice. They are also very aggressive. What if they are beaten to death by this monster? That would be really heartbreaking. Surrender? Slowly putting away the samurai sword in his hand, Luen looked at the head of the Vinsmoke family who had already lowered his head. It was within his expectation that the other party would surrender voluntarily. This would save a lot of trouble. You can also clock out early. It's so comfortable. It was probably less than 20 minutes since Luen entered the Germa kingdom. In such a short time, he directly defeated the entire Vinsmoke family and made them surrender voluntarily. In this way, if there is a need to negotiate with Marine in the future, Marine will undoubtedly take the absolute initiative. As for the Vinsmoke family, as losers, they have no right to refuse. My mission is also completed. Open the door and go off work. Luen smiled, and then, without paying attention to the eyes of the core members of the Vinsmoke family, Luen picked up the samurai sword very neatly and prepared to leave the Germa kingdom. By the way, the next thing, Marine will send people to negotiate with your Vinsmoke family. I won't interfere too much. I guess you don't want me to be the person in charge of the negotiations sent by Marine now. As for the results of your negotiations with Marine, that is not my responsibility. Luen waved his hand. He said goodbye to the Vinsmoke family. And walked away in the direction he came from, at the same time. About 100 kilometers away from the North Blue Germa kingdom. In the sky, the golden sunlight fell from the edge of the sky. The sea surface was sparkling. The golden halo flickered on the sea surface. The breeze was blowing. The sea surface was rippled. Occasionally, sea kings linger under the deep sea, and seagulls soar and jump in the sky. I saw, above the head of this sea area, in vain. A figure with a golden halo around it flashed from the edge of the distant sky, approaching at an extremely terrifying speed. In an instant, it crossed a distance of dozens of kilometers. This figure was shining with extremely bright golden light, and the dazzling golden light was like sunlight falling down, like a small sun, showing its amazing speed like the speed of light in the sky. Swish swish swish. The figure with golden light around him cut through the sky at a very fast speed. Indistinctly, even the space was twisted, squirming, and trembling slightly. While rushing forward at a very fast speed, a series of piercing sounds of breaking through the air were heard. This was completely beyond the speed of sound by many times. Even though he rushed forward at a height of thousands of meters in the sky, the aftermath of the airflow generated by this amazing speed still affected the sea area below and set off huge waves. Crash. The sea water rolled upside down and scattered in the sky hundreds of meters high. It's almost there. The figure with golden light around him gradually revealed his figure and appearance. This was a tall and thin middle-aged man in a golden suit, with slightly wretched facial features, like a monkey. No doubt. This person is Kizaru Borsellino, one of the 3 Marine Admirals who rushed from Naval Headquarters Marineford to the North Blue Germa Kingdom at a high speed to reinforce his nephew Luen. Because of his eagerness, Kizaru directly used the Devil Fruit ability in full. The ability of Sparkling Fruit was fully activated by him and rushed to the base camp of the North Blue Vinsmoke family at a high speed. The reason why Kizaru was so serious was obviously not only because of the order from CJAI, Sengoku. More reasons are, he was worried about the personal safety of his nephew. So, Kizaru, who has always been lazy, and salty, changed his previous lazy attitude at this moment, and instead looked very serious, solemn, and serious. This kind of emotion rarely appears on Kizaru's face. Even the other two Marine Admirals, Akainu and Aokiji, have never seen Kizaru's face show such eagerness, seriousness. Undoubtedly, when a lazy guy gets serious, it is the most frightening moment. Because it means that Kizaru is angry. When Kizaru gets serious, even the other two Marine Admirals are very afraid of him. However, it is rare to see Kizaru being serious. He always acts lazy and idle, as if he doesn't care about anything. This kind of lazy attitude rarely makes Kizaru angry and has to be serious. But this time is different. Kizaru is anxious and angry about the personal safety of his nephew Luen. This is most likely the first time that Kizaru has the idea of destroying a huge force. In the past, when encountering such troublesome things, even if there is an order from Marshal Sengoku, Kizaru will not be too serious to execute it. Because for him, it is too troublesome. He is not like Akainu Sakazuki, who is also an admiral, who upholds a morbid justice. Nor is he like Aokiji, who seems to be equally careless and indifferent to everything. But in fact, Aokiji still has a certain sense of justice in his heart. As for Kizaru, he has always upheld an ambiguous justice. He slacks off at work and is lazy when performing tasks. It seems that he came to Marine to spend his days. Vinsmoke family, you are dead. Kizaru's eyes are sharp, and he has changed from his previous laziness. There is a flame of anger burning in his eyes. He only hopes now. The Vinsmoke family must not do too much. Otherwise, he is really worried. In anger, he will destroy the entire Germa kingdom at all costs. Let the Vinsmoke family disappear from this sea completely. Don't doubt it. Kizaru definitely has such strength and qualifications. As the Admiral of Headquarters, Kizaru usually does not show his true colors, does not fight or compete, and rarely captures those famous pirates in the outside world, so he seems to have a weak presence and his strength does not seem to be very good. But in fact, as the Admiral of Headquarters, Kizaru's strength cannot be weak. The word weak is completely irrelevant. Under normal circumstances, the combat power of Marine Admiral and 4 Emperors is equal. No matter how weak Kizaru's strength is, he can still compete with the 4 Emperors of New World. And with such strength, it is natural to destroy a Vinsmoke family. It may be a bit troublesome, but if Kizaru is really angry, he will definitely do such a thing. Luen, you kid, don't die at the hands of the Vinsmoke family. Hold on for a few more minutes. Your uncle is about to arrive. Kizaru thought. He used the ability of sparkling fruit to hurry on. His speed is one of the best in the sea. There is basically no one faster than Kizaru. It only takes 1 minute, no more than 2 minutes, for Kizaru to reach the kingdom of Germa. Gradually, as time goes by, 1 minute later, the outer waters of the kingdom of Germa. 3 warships are docked here, on the deck of the warship. Led by Chris, the Marine Rear Admiral, more than 3,000 Marines are looking at the kingdom of Germa ahead. And at this moment, above the sky, whoosh, accompanied by a sharp and piercing sound of breaking through the air, the space is faintly triggered to collapse. Then, buzz, buzz. The extremely bright golden light slowly gathered above the sky and gathered into shape at a height of thousands of meters. One by one, the golden light particles gathered and merged little by little. The golden light became more and more dazzling, and more shining. The movement here naturally could not escape the notice of more than 3,000 Marines below. XX. Chris and his Marines all raised their heads and looked at the movement coming from thousands of meters above. Under their gaze, they saw the golden light particles gathered from all directions, and after continuous fusion, gradually formed a human figure, wrapped in golden light. In an instant, the golden light wrapped around the body dispersed, revealing the appearance of this tall and thin figure. It's Kizaru Admiral. Kizaru Admiral is here. Chris was excited. But after thinking about it, his face was a little stiff, and he couldn't help but glance at the Germa kingdom that was split by a knife. He couldn't help asking himself, July. Now even if Kizaru Admiral arrived at the Germa kingdom, it would have become meaningless. After all, the kingdom of Germa has been split in half by a single sword. However, up to now, neither Chris nor other Marines can be 100% sure that the world's top swordsman who split the kingdom of Germa is Luen, who is only 5 or 6 years old, so, when they saw Kizaru arrive at the scene, they were more or less relieved and showed a relaxed expression. The Marine Admiral came in person. This should be the beginning of the disaster for the Vinsmoke family. Thousands of meters in the air. Kizaru, formed by the gathering and fusion of countless golden lights, stood in the air, looking down at the movable kingdom on the sea. Is this the base camp of the Vinsmoke family, the kingdom of Germa? Kizaru's eyelids drooped slightly. He didn't have time to accompany the Vinsmoke family around. Since he has already appeared in person, then just give it directly. The Vinsmoke family was showing off their power, and the other was threatening. So, with this thought in mind, Huang Yuan turned his eyes again. He saw the outer area of the Germa kingdom directly below, where the 20,000 fully armed clone soldiers seemed to be confronting Marine. Kizaru found the target, and his mind moved, in an instant. His whole body was covered with golden light, becoming more and more brilliant and dazzling. The light was radiant and blooming. Yoshinion Magatama. Chapter 60. The rift that runs through the Germa kingdom. Kizaru is shocked. Please customize. Buzz. Buzz. An extremely dazzling golden light burst out from Kizaru's body, like a second scorching sun hanging on the edge of the sky. Below, more than 3,000 elite marines led by Chris did not dare to look directly at the light released from Kizaru's body. They could only block it with their hands, and stare at Kizaru through the gaps between their fingers. Kizaru Admiral, are you going to get serious? Chris was shocked. To be able to become the Admiral of Headquarters, they are all the top monsters in the sea. Once this kind of monster gets serious, the scope of influence, destructive power and other aspects are extremely terrifying. It's not hard to understand Admiral Kizaru's feelings at the moment when his nephew was ambushed by the Vinsmoke family. It can only be said that the Vinsmoke family will eventually perish because of their own evil deeds. They actually dared to attack the nephew of a Marine Admiral. They deserved to be attacked by Admiral Kizaru's anger. It's really rare. Admiral Kizaru usually looks lazy and unhurried, as if he is calm and unconcerned no matter what happens. But now, for his own nephew, Admiral Kizaru is obviously angry. One by one, the Marines whispered to each other with the golden light shining in the sky above their heads. With the arrival of Admiral Kizaru himself, the pressure brought to the Marine by the Vinsmoke family was naturally resolved. At the same time, the spies sent by the various forces from the dark world of North Blue hiding in the surrounding seas also noticed Kizaru. Kizaru? Marine actually sent an admiral from the headquarters to North Blue? It can be seen that Admiral Kizaru is very close to his nephew Luen. Otherwise, Kizaru would not have come to North Blue in person less than 20 minutes after the conflict between the two sides broke out. In North Blue, you must never provoke Admiral Kizaru's nephew. Of course, even if there is no such relationship, if the Germa kingdom is really split by Colonel Luen. With his terrifying strength, let alone North Blue, even if you look at the entire Grand Line, it can basically be said that he is walking sideways. There are a lot of discussions, including the Germa kingdom that has been split in half. Many members of the Germa kingdom have raised their heads and looked at the 10 figures shining with golden light on the end. Before they woke up from the shock brought by the shocking slash that split the Germa kingdom, they saw the golden figure standing above their heads. B. Kizaru Borsellino. Marine actually dispatched an admiral of the headquarters to come to North Blue? When they saw the face of the figure surrounded by golden light, all the members of the Germa kingdom were shocked and shocked. Panic was boiling. How strong is a Marine Admiral? How terrible is the destructive power? Of course they knew it well. In front of them was a mysterious swordsman who split the Germa kingdom with one sword. Behind them was an Admiral of Headquarters who fell from the sky. For a moment, the members of the Germa kingdom were in a dilemma, at a loss, and terrified. As the golden light gathered by Kizaru above the sky became more and more. Finally, he grabbed two dazzling golden lights with both hands and aimed them at the outer area of the Germa kingdom below, which was the location of the 20,000 fully armed clone soldiers. He opened the big move directly to the face, Yashikani no Magatama. This is one of the most powerful moves Kizaru has mastered. The coverage area is extremely wide, the destructive power is extremely strong. Under normal circumstances, Kizaru would not use this move, because its coverage is too wide and its lethality is too great. If you are not careful, it will cause extremely terrible damage. But now, facing his own nephew Luen, who was ambushed and besieged by the Vinsmoke family, Kizaru could no longer care about so much. First, he gave the Vinsmoke family a severe blow to announce his arrival. Moment. Whoosh, whoosh, swish. From the two bright golden balls of light held tightly in Kizaru's hands, golden balls suddenly released one after another, falling from the sky like a torrential rain, aiming at the outer area of the Germa kingdom. The speed is extremely fast, it's like a bullet that exceeds the speed of sound. The sky is full of golden light flashing, countless golden balls bombarded down. Just like the stars at night, there are countless golden balls of light, spread all over the sky, and continuously released from Kizaru's hands, trying to destroy and sink the entire Germa kingdom. The golden balls cut through the sky, penetrated the space at a very fast speed, and burst out a series of sharp and piercing air-breaking sounds. Resounding through the clouds, within a radius of hundreds of miles, everyone saw the big move performed by Kizaru. The golden light blooming from Kizaru's body wanted to cover the sunlight emitted by the scorching sun in the sky. Swish, 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 the golden balls in the sky fell like raindrops. In an instant, these golden spheres were extremely destructive, and they hit the fully armed clone soldiers in the outer area of the Germa kingdom one after another. The moment they hit the clone soldiers, the golden spheres exploded like bombs. Boom boom boom. 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 Nearly thousands of golden lights fell from the sky, completely covering the area where the 20,000 fully armed clone soldiers were located. So, Kizaru's close-range attack hit the bodies of these clone soldiers without reservation, and the explosion instantly shattered the bodies of the clone soldiers. If these clone soldiers had not felt pain and were not afraid of death, I am afraid they would have fallen to the ground, wailing and screaming in pain. The golden light balls falling from the sky hit the clone soldiers one after another, and the ground in the outer area of Germa Kingdom where the clone soldiers were located was directly penetrated. There were countless perforations, riddled with holes. Devastated. If Kizaru had not controlled the coverage of his ultimate move, the entire Germa Kingdom would inevitably be covered by his ultimate move, Yasukani no Magatama. At that time, the entire Germa Kingdom would really be subjected to a carpet-style fierce bombing. Kizaru's ultimate move was like a torrential rain of bombs falling from the sky, and there was no place to hide. Because the speed of the golden light falling was too fast, it was beyond the ability of ordinary people to dodge. Not to mention ordinary people, even as strong as the 7 warlords of the sea, facing Kizaru's indiscriminate ultimate move, it would be difficult to dodge and be hit directly by Yasukani no Magatama. These clone soldiers produced by the Vinsmoke family, although they have a physique far superior to ordinary people, are also fully armed. But facing it was not realistic to expect them to dodge or block Kizaru's attack. Boom! The continuous strong explosions shook the entire Germa Kingdom. The Germa Kingdom, which consisted of 10 giant warships, was constantly shaking and trembling under the influence of the strong explosion shockwave. In the surrounding seas, some golden spheres also fell down and hit the sea with a loud noise. It was like thunder and deafening. Crash! The calm sea surface that was hit immediately raised huge waves and rose into the air again, trying to hang upside down hundreds of meters in the air, and then fell like waves. A fully armed clone soldier, his body was pierced by dozens of golden light balls, fell to the ground on the spot, unconscious and completely dead. No screams were made throughout the whole process. The clone soldiers mass-produced by the Vinsmoke family are undoubtedly a sharp weapon for war. They don't know pain, are not afraid of death, and have no self-emotions. No wonder the world government is so afraid of them. Vinsmoke family. Boom. 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 Covering the outer area of the Germa Kingdom with a diameter of several thousand meters, golden balls of light pierced through the bodies of clone soldiers one after another. Visible to the naked eye, one after another, fully armed clone soldiers fell to the ground and lost consciousness. Even the high-tech suits they were wearing were inevitably pierced and destroyed by Kizaru's ultimate move, emitting flames and short-circuiting. Plop. Plop. A large number of clone soldiers fell one after another. In just a short time of less than a dozen breaths, more than half of the original 20,000 fully armed clone soldiers had been lost. No less than 10,000 clone soldiers were destroyed beyond recognition, their bodies exploded directly, countless limbs and flesh flew everywhere, and bloodline infected the floor tiles. Blood flowed like a river, corpses were everywhere. A pungent and strong smell of blood arose spontaneously. More than 10,000 clone soldiers were killed instantly by Kizaru. Most of the remaining clone soldiers also lay on the ground. Although there were no painful wails and screams, their bodies were obviously crippled and it was difficult for them to maintain their original combat effectiveness. Crack. Crack. The deck fences and ground in the outer area of the Germa Kingdom were constantly cracked and exploded due to the attack from Kizaru's big move. Cracks like spider webs were spread all over the place, densely packed and shocking. Asterisk 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 asterisk. It was as if the Germa Kingdom was about to sink into the sea at any time. The exterior seemed to be riddled with holes. The countless holes were caused by Kizaru's big move. After a moment, Kizaru, who was above the sky, stopped attacking. The golden light shining around him gradually began to retreat. He recovered as before. He was wearing a golden suit, his facial features were a little wretched, but not as lazy as before. At this time, right below, the battle situation in the outer area of the Germa Kingdom was extremely tragic and miserable. 20,000 fully armed clone soldiers were killed in seconds, and no less than 15,000 of them were killed. The remaining, at least about 2,000 or 3,000 clone soldiers were seriously injured, disabled, and unable to move. Only about 1/20th of the clone soldiers were lucky enough not to be seriously injured by Kizaru's attack. But they would have some wounds on their bodies, but they were not fatal. The whole area was full of smoke, there were traces of damage everywhere. The floor tiles were pierced, and the fragments flew everywhere. The raging waves hanging upside down hundreds of meters in the air fell down and soaked the broken deck. Splashing. The seawater infects the bodies of the clone soldiers, and the large amount of blood accumulated on the deck is also washed away by the seawater. The seawater rolls the blood flowing on the deck into the sea. The air still has the smell of blood, but it is not as strong and pungent as before. Please give me flowers. The scene just now, with blood flowing like a river, corpses everywhere, and broken limbs everywhere, is simply shocking and horrifying. Even a glance would give ordinary people nightmares. The clone soldiers who have no sense of pain are lying on the deck. Some of them are still struggling and climbing with their hands, but their lower bodies have been pierced into debris, looking very miserable. At the beginning, 20,000 fully armed clone soldiers intimidated the 3,000 on the opposite side. Marines dare not act rashly. Never thought. In the blink of an eye, these 20,000 majestic and fully armed clone soldiers were completely defeated and reduced to a pile of loose sand. Some died, some were injured. Only a few survivors were slightly injured, but the number was not large, no more than 2,000. At this moment, even if Chris, the Marine Rear Admiral, personally took action and led more than 3,000 elite Marines to launch an attack, he could definitely easily capture all these clone soldiers. From the time Kizaru appeared to now, only less than half a minute had passed. The Germa kingdom was almost completely destroyed. The 20,000 clone soldiers suffered heavy casualties. This is the combat power of the Marine Admiral, each one is as strong as a monster. Even Kizaru, who usually does not show his strength, can be said to be able to destroy the world once he gets serious. Looking around, the kingdom of Germa is in ruins. From a movable kingdom with great technological beauty, it has now been split in half by a sword, and has also suffered a large-scale attack from Kizaru, directly destroying the outer area of the kingdom of Germa. The ground in the outer area has sunk and collapsed, and countless perforations have appeared. Seawater is gradually infiltrating through these perforations. On the ground, there are so many wreckages everywhere that they cannot be counted. These scenes clearly fell into the eyes of a group of Marines not far away. More than 3,000 Marines, led by Chris, were shocked and looked up at the sky with admiration, looking at the majestic figure standing in the air. So strong, is this the strength of Marine Admiral? The combat power at the ceiling level of the sea? Although Kizaru Admiral is usually not very impressive, once he gets serious, his strength is also very strong. Why do I feel that when Kizaru Admiral gets serious, he is much more terrifying than Aokiji Admiral? Look, those clone soldiers developed by the Vinsmoke family. Before, they dared to try to stop us, but now, they are all annihilated. Too tragic. Kizaru Admiral directly defeated an army of 20,000 clone soldiers with his own strength. Marine was very excited. They had no sympathy for the miserable appearance of these clone soldiers, but felt happy in their hearts. The surrounding sea areas. Those spies from various forces who were hiding in this area and paying close attention to Marine and Vinsmoke family were all frightened by Kizaru's amazing combat power. They were considering, should they retreat immediately? Lest they be afraid that they will never be able to leave once they attract the attention of Marine Admiral Kizaru. Even this Marine Admiral who is known as the laziest and most useless is as strong as a monster. In addition, he has a son who is suspected to be the mysterious swordsman who split the kingdom of Germa with one sword. Isn't this family too heaven-defying? Is there going to be a situation where there are two admirals in a family? If the mysterious swordsman who split the kingdom of Germa is really the nephew of Admiral Kizaru, then there is no doubt that in time, the other party will definitely be qualified to serve as the Admiral of Headquarters. In this way, there are two Marine Admirals in one family, it's unbelievable. After a moment, Kizaru's body turned into a golden light and fell from the sky. When his feet landed steadily, he was already standing in the ruined area outside the kingdom of Germa. All around him, there were ruins he had created, as well as the bodies, wreckage, and fragments of the clone soldiers. One clone soldier after another struggled to attack Kizaru. In response, Kizaru remained unmoved. As a Logia user, with the heaven-defying skill of elementalization, Kizaru was not afraid of the physical attacks brought by these clone soldiers. As Kizaru observed the surrounding environment, he suddenly realized that an extremely sharp sword energy was coming from not far away. It was very sharp. It was very sharp. It made Kizaru feel a little uncomfortable. His eyes became solemn. Taking a step, Kizaru came to an area not far away and witnessed a hideous crack up close. This crack went all the way from the interior of the Germa kingdom, through dozens of kilometers, and split into the distant sea. It seemed that the entire Germa kingdom was cut off. The entire Germa kingdom was actually split apart by a single sword? Kizaru's pupils shrank, and he was secretly shocked. Chapter 61 Because I split the Germa kingdom apart with one sword, please customize. At close range, the sharp sword energy remaining in this crack made Kizaru very sure of one thing. The great swordsman who made such an amazing achievement and split the entire Germa kingdom must have a very high level of swordsmanship. Although Kizaru is a Logia user, he also has a good level of swordsmanship. Although his swordsmanship is not the best in the world, it is difficult to compare with Haki, the world's #1 in pure swordsmanship. But Kizaru's swordsmanship is definitely not weak. Therefore, Kizaru can preliminarily estimate how strong the swordsmanship of the great swordsman who split the Germa kingdom is from the sword energy remaining in this crack. Stronger than him. Even more, Kizaru has an illusion. Even Haki, who is known as the world's #1 swordsman, is probably at most on par with the great swordsman who split the Germa kingdom at this moment. Or, Haki is not as good as this mysterious great swordsman in swordsmanship. Thinking of this, Kizaru couldn't help but smack his lips. There is actually a world-class swordsman with such a penultimate level of swordsmanship in this sea? Why have I never heard of it before? North Blue is Kizaru's hometown. Logically, it is impossible for him to have not heard of such a terrible swordsman appearing in North Blue. Could it be Haki? Kizaru raised his eyebrows. But soon, he shook his head, because he thought of the news that the Naval Headquarters had just heard about it not long ago, saying that the 7 warlords of the sea Haki Mahawk appeared in the sea area of East Blue. Although it is unknown why a swordsman of this level would go to a place like East Blue, but it is certain that Haki could not have arrived at North Blue from East Blue in such a short time. Do you really think everyone can be like Kizaru? It only takes less than 20 minutes to rush from Naval Headquarters Marineford to North Blue. But if it's not Haki's 933, who else could it be? Judging from the pure swordsmanship level, the only person in this sea who can reach this level of swordsmanship is Haki, as far as I know. If it's not Haki, it means that in the North Blue Sea, a world-class swordsman who I don't even know about has emerged without my knowledge. A world-class swordsman whose swordsmanship level is no less than Haki's. Kizaru's eyes narrowed. Even Marine had never found such news. The identity of this great swordsman is too hidden. The identity is a mystery. The sword energy left by this crack. Not simple. The more carefully Kizaru observed, the more he could feel that the great swordsman's swordsmanship level was extremely terrifying, able to make such an amazing slash and split the Germa kingdom. So powerful that Kizaru had to express great fear. This man's swordsmanship level was so high that Kizaru felt inferior to him. He had a vague illusion. Even if he used all his skills, used all the power of the devil fruit, and burst out all his strength, Kizaru still had no confidence in winning when facing this unknown great swordsman. The chance of winning was 50-50. Looking at the entire ocean, there were very few people who could be given such a high evaluation by Kizaru. Although he often encouraged some young people verbally, calling them monsters and terrible at every turn. But in fact, there are few people that Kizaru takes seriously. One sword, follow the Germa kingdom. Just the remaining sword energy is enough to intimidate me. Who is this person? Why did he suddenly appear in North Blue? Why didn't he reveal any information before? Why did he attack the Vinsmoke family? One sword split the Germa kingdom. Could it be that this unknown swordsman has a grudge against the Vinsmoke family? Kizaru fell into deep thought. What is certain is, this mysterious swordsman is most likely not an enemy of Marine. Of course. Nothing is absolute. Maybe the other party is also a pirate, and the reason why he attacked the Vinsmoke family is purely because of the hatred between the two sides. When facing Marine, the other party may not really show mercy. Thinking of this, Kizaru felt a little tricky, to be honest. He doesn't like to participate in such things that he is not completely sure of. He is a very stable, hiding person. Generally, he will not join certain groups as a minister without being completely sure. And now, in order to save his own son, Kizaru has to participate in this matter. If he really meets that great swordsman, he will try not to fight as much as possible. This is what Kizaru thinks in his heart. Once he really fights, Kizaru feels that he may have to fight with the other party for 3 days and 3 nights and may not be able to determine the winner. It can be seen. How high is his evaluation of this unknown great swordsman? Obviously, this is a super strong man that even he is not sure of taking down. It is precisely because his swordsmanship level is not weak, so Kizaru can analyze a lot of information from the sword energy left in this crack. It can also roughly estimate the strength level of the famous swordsman. Undoubtedly the top of the sea, on par with Admiral. On par with the 4 emperors, a strong man at the ceiling level of the ocean. Kizaru could come to the conclusion without much consideration. He is such an incredible super strong man. Marine had never received any information or records about a strong man of this level before. Kizaru thought about it. If a great swordsman of this level is interested in joining Marine, he can introduce him. Looking in the direction of this crack, Kizaru saw many facilities, buildings and structures that were destroyed beyond recognition inside the kingdom of Germa. This crack that stretched for dozens of kilometers almost penetrated the chassis of the kingdom of Germa and connected to the ocean current below. It is believed that before long, seawater will slowly penetrate into the kingdom of Germa from the bottom. If the Vinsmoke family does not take repair measures in time, the entire kingdom of Germa will be swallowed by the sea and sink into the sea. After a while, as Kizaru killed 20,000 fully armed clone soldiers in seconds, the entire outer area of the kingdom of Germa was no longer threatened. Not far away, Rear Admiral Chris on the deck of the Marine warship and his 3 commodores and 8 colonels all hurried over. They quickly came to the people beside Kizaru looked extremely respectful. Admiral Kizaru. The Marine officers, led by Chris, bowed their heads. What's the situation inside, Luen? This kid shouldn't be captured by the Vinsmoke family in such a short time, right? If that's the case, it would be too embarrassing for me. Kizaru got straight to the point and asked directly. This? Chris didn't know how to answer for a moment. Seeing this, Kizaru pointed to the crack that ran through the Germa kingdom not far away and asked again. By the way, which great swordsman made this amazing slash that ran through the Germa kingdom? There is a great swordsman of this level who specifically targets the Vinsmoke family. I think they should have no time to care about Luen at this moment. I don't know what the Vinsmoke family is doing. They dare to provoke a great swordsman of this level. You know, even if I face a great swordsman of this level, I dare not say that I can have a 100% victory. Don't the people of the Vinsmoke family really think that they are the so-called king of North Blue? When he first arrived at the scene, Kizaru didn't understand the specific situation, so he was very anxious. Now, he can basically judge that his nephew Luen will probably not really encounter too much danger. As far as I know, looking at this sea, even including North Blue, Grand Line, and New World, there are very few great swordsmen with swordsmanship levels of this level, and they can be counted on one hand. One of them is the world's #1 swordsman, Haki Mahak. How come North Blue suddenly has one? Kizaru asked. He was very curious about this great swordsman. Admiral Kizaru, we had a guess about this before.
Chris hesitated. He couldn't help but recall that before Luen was about to enter the kingdom of Germa, he had borrowed the samurai sword he carried with him.
Thinking of this, Chris proposed to Kizaru the extremely shocking guess he had in mind before. This amazing slash that was released from the interior of the kingdom of Germa, splitting the kingdom of Germa all the way and even cutting off the sea. In fact, it was from Colonel Luen. There is a certain probability that it is this world-class swordsman. Hearing this, Kizaru was stunned. He looked at Chris in front of him in a daze. Is it you who has a problem, or am I? Kizaru couldn't help but blurt out. How could he not understand his own nephew Luen? A salted fish, so lazy. Even lazier than him. Although Luen does have the potential to be a king, and has mastered the legendary Conqueror's Haki. All of this can be attributed to his extraordinary talent. But there is no such shortcut in swordsmanship. If you want to hone your swordsmanship to the world level, you must go through countless hard training and battles. Even the world's #1 swordsman Haki also came step by step like this. And how old is Luen? Only 15 or 16 years old. The key is, this kid is too lazy. Swordsmanship requires countless time and energy, a little bit of training and accumulation, to become a swordsman, penultimate swordsman. Even if one has a strong talent, if one does not work hard enough to practice, the level of swordsmanship will definitely not be very strong. So, Kizaru really can't imagine. The world's top swordsman who cut off the Germa kingdom can actually have a connection with his lazy nephew. Crazy. Kizaru said he couldn't accept it. Don't say that Luen is too lazy. Even if he is hardworking and diligent, it is basically impossible for him to practice world-class swordsmanship at this age. Kizaru was very sure. Chris couldn't explain it anymore. After all this is just their guess. Since Kizaru directly rejected this guess, they naturally had nothing to say. Can this kid be so strong? Impossible, absolutely impossible. How old is he? Even if I was as old as him, I had just started to develop sparkling fruit. Could this kid be even better than I was back then? Kizaru muttered to himself. He shook his head, getting rid of the ridiculous idea in his mind. This world-class swordsman who split the Germa kingdom was a super strong man that even a Marine Admiral like him was extremely afraid of, and he was not sure he could defeat the opponent. How could this super strong man be his own nephew, at this moment? Baloo Baloo, the Den Den Mushi in his hand made a unique sound. Kizaru answered the call. Marshal Sengoku. I'm Kizaru, I just arrived at the North Blue Germa Kingdom. The situation is still unclear, however, Luen shouldn't be in too much danger. I'll inform Marshal Sengoku after I find out the truth. Now, the situation is a bit complicated, hard to say. The complicated situation Kizaru was talking about was obviously the matter of the world's top swordsman who split the Germa ugly kingdom with one sword. He didn't plan to tell Sengoku about this matter now. When he found out the truth and the identity of the swordsman, he would tell Sengoku the whole story. A moment. He hung up the phone call, just as Kizaru was about to enter the Germa kingdom. But suddenly he saw. A figure with tattered clothes was slowly walking out of the Germa kingdom. Huh? Kizaru raised his eyebrows and was about to catch the other party for questioning, but suddenly he saw that this figure was familiar. When this figure walked out of the passage, his figure and appearance were revealed in the sunlight.
Kizaru was speechless. Sure enough, Luen was not so easily captured by the Vinsmoke family.
Although he looked a little embarrassed, at least he was unscathed.
The one who walked out of the Germa kingdom at this time was naturally Luen.
You kid. Seeing Luen unscathed, Kizaru was completely relaxed. Uncle. Why are you here? Luen, who had just walked out of the Germa kingdom and was about to go home and clock out early, also discovered the figure of Kizaru, his cheap uncle. He seemed a little surprised. You kid have been ambushed and besieged by the Vinsmoke family. How can I sit back and do nothing? At least I'll come to support you. But now it seems that you haven't suffered much harm from the Vinsmoke family. Kizaru looked Luen up and down. He asked again, by the way, what about the main members of the Vinsmoke family? They just watched you walk out of the Germa kingdom. Hearing this, Luen responded, you said the Vinsmoke family 4.8 them? They have just surrendered. The tedious matters that need to be dealt with next will be left to you, uncle, to handle. I don't want to get involved too much anyway. Since you are here, as a Marine Admiral, you should make some contribution to the Marine. So, the next negotiation with the Vinsmoke family will be your responsibility. Don't worry, the Vinsmoke family has surrendered. Next, you can be tougher in the negotiation, and you are not afraid that they will dare to resist. Kizaru was stunned. What the hell? Surrendered just like that? The Vinsmoke family is the king of North Blue after all. Did I come all the way to North Blue just to clean up the mess for Luen? First I'm a Marine Admiral, when have I ever done such a thing?
Why did the Vinsmoke family surrender? Kizaru couldn't understand.
Oh, you mean this matter? It's very simple. I just chopped the entire Germa kingdom apart with a knife. Then, the Vinsmoke family surrendered without hesitation. As Luen spoke, he threw the samurai sword in his hand back to the original owner Chris. This samurai sword was originally borrowed from Rear Admiral Chris. And Chris, who took the samurai sword thrown by Luen, seemed particularly excited, shocked, and excited. He held the samurai sword with trembling hands and couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Is this the weapon that split the Germa kingdom and cut off the sea? Although he had guessed this, when he really heard Luen reveal the truth, Chris was inevitably shocked by Luen's actions. Sure enough, the world's top swordsman who split the Germa kingdom and cut off the sea with one sword is actually Colonel Luen himself. Chris secretly made up his mind. This samurai sword in his hand will be his family heirloom from now on. Chapter 62. Kizaru is dumbfounded, Sengoku is shocked, North Blue is shocked, please customize. Kizaru, who was standing next to Chris, and his 3 commodores, 8 colonels, and more than 3,000 marine elites were all shocked by Luen's words. Kizaru had never thought from the beginning that the amazing sword that split the Germa kingdom would come from his own nephew's hand. He had never dreamed of it. The truth was actually what he had never thought of. What did you say? Kizaru stared at his nephew blankly. Even as the Admiral of Headquarters, with his calm psychological quality, he was inevitably frightened by Luen's words. Before this, just from the sword energy left in the crack that split the Germa kingdom, it was enough for Kizaru to judge that this was a world-class swordsman whose strength was not inferior to his. Even enough to rival the world's greatest swordsman Haki. However, who would have thought that the mysterious great swordsman that Kizaru praised so highly was actually his nephew Luen? A teenager of 15 or 16 years old. Even if he had been practicing swordsmanship since his mother's womb, it wouldn't be so exaggerated, right? FFLX. My nephew's swordsmanship is enough to rival the world's greatest swordsman? Even as good as Haki? The amazing slash that split the Germa kingdom was made by him? Kizaru opened his mouth, unable to speak for a moment, his face full of astonishment and confusion. This result was indeed beyond his expectations. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. Uncle, is it okay for you to take care of the next thing? The Vinsmoke family has surrendered, and the rest just needs to be renegotiated with them. I'm going to get off work. Luen didn't care about the shocked Kizaru, waved his hand, and left the Germa kingdom neatly and returned to the warship not far away. Punch out early. Huang Yuan, who was late to realize it, woke up after watching Luen's back as he left. This brat. I didn't expect to scare me without making any noise. Kizaru looked at the hideous crack left in the Germa kingdom and couldn't help laughing and scolding. What you did is really shocking. Even until now, he still couldn't believe that Baijia's nephew Luen was the mysterious great swordsman who was on par with Admiral, Shigen, and Haki. A world-class great swordsman who split the Germa kingdom with one sword. With such a powerful strength, even Kizaru, who is strong, is not absolutely sure that he can defeat the opponent. In other words, Luen, this brat, is only 15 or 16 years old, but he already has the initial combat power comparable to the Admiral and 4 Emperors. What a terrible monster. This word, monster, came from Kizaru's mouth, and it was a sincere and heartfelt thought. It was completely different from the monster he mentioned all the time in the past. In the past, he was just joking. But now, for his nephew's actions and powerful strength, Kizaru really believes that his nephew Luen is undoubtedly one of the most terrifying monsters in the sea. Turtle, is my nephew so powerful? I couldn't see it before. I thought that having the potential of a king and mastering Conqueror's Haki was already the limit. I didn't expect that this brat would really bring me a big surprise today. No, that's not right. It should be said that he was shocked. Who would have thought that a boy of 15 or 16 would be so powerful? He has a swordsmanship level comparable to the world's greatest swordsman. He is simply a freak. Why couldn't I see it before? Have I been blind for so many years? Kizaru was puzzled. He looked at the hideous cracks left on the Germa kingdom again, and he couldn't help but sigh. The most unlikely guess before has now become the truth. Vinsmoke family, you are really unlucky, Kizaru laughed. I'm afraid even the people of the Vinsmoke family didn't expect that. They thought the 15 or 16-year-old boy was a soft persimmon. Who would have thought that this was simply a complete monster? At the same time, the thousands of marine elites behind Kizaru also expressed their deep shock. It's really Colonel Luen? That is to say, Colonel Luen's swordsmanship level is at least the world's top level? But Colonel Luen is only 15 or 16 years old. At such a young age, he actually has such an amazing swordsmanship level. How did he practice it? Is there any trick? Yes, the trick is, 2 words, talent. Colonel Luen can no longer be described as a genius. I can only say that he is a monster. A monster that cannot be understood by common sense. There was a lot of discussion. Just as Kizaru was about to enter the Germa kingdom to help Luen clean up his mess and solve the remaining tedious tasks. The Den Den Mushi on his hand rang again. Pulu Pulu. Kizaru paused for a moment, and the Den Den Mushi was connected. Moshi Moshi, this is Kizaru, he spoke directly. It's me, Sengoku. How's the situation? Sengoku was obviously paying attention to the developments here all the time, and he would call Kizaru every once in a while to ask about the ins and outs of the situation here. What should I tell you, Marshal Sengoku? Kizaru had a headache. After thinking about it, he first mentioned, when I just arrived at the Germa kingdom. The matter was almost resolved. So, I just made a wasted trip and didn't play any role at all. As for the reason, it's because a great swordsman forcibly split the entire Germa kingdom with one sword. The Germa kingdom, which was composed of 10 giant battleships, was split in half by one sword. As for who this unidentified great swordsman is, Marshal Sengoku, I think you should be mentally prepared first, so as not to be scared later. Speaking of this, Kizaru's tone was complicated. Has he split the entire Germa kingdom with one sword? With such an amazing level of swordsmanship, looking at the entire sea, I really can't think of a second possibility except Haki. But in fact, not long ago, the news that Haki appeared in East Blue just came to the headquarters. So, this person can't be Haki. So, does North Blue have a hidden swordsman whose swordsmanship is not inferior to Haki, the world's #1 swordsman? Sengoku's tone became particularly solemn. The swordsmanship of this unidentified swordsman who could split the Germa kingdom with one sword must be extremely terrifying. Some things don't require too many clues to draw conclusions. For example, Germa kingdom, such a huge movable sea kingdom, was forcibly split in half by a sword. Just from this description, Sengoku could feel the extremely sharp sword energy even from a distance. The terrifying swordsmanship of the unidentified swordsman. Who is this person? You should have investigated it clearly, right? Sengoku vaguely realized this from Kizaru's tone and asked. In fact, Marshal Sengoku also knows this person. Kizaru said tentatively, if I say that this unknown swordsman is actually my good-for-nothing nephew Luen, Marshal Sengoku, would you believe it? 11. Silence. Kizaru's words made Sengoku on the opposite side silent. If he remembered correctly, Luen was at most 15 or 16 years old. So, Kizaru meant, the swordsman who split the Germa kingdom with one sword and had the world's top swordsmanship level comparable to Haki was just a 15 or 16-year-old boy. I don't believe you. After a long silence, Sengoku couldn't help but lose his voice. I knew it. Kizaru was helpless. He was just telling the truth. Of course. He also knew how outrageous what he said was. No wonder Sengoku couldn't accept it at all. Marshal Sengoku, I know it's hard for you to accept it. So many people saw it. This is the truth.
Can I still lie about this? Kizaru spread his hands.
FFLX. Is everything you said true? Is it really that brat Luen? He split the entire Germa kingdom with one sword? He escaped from the Vinsmoke family's base camp unscathed? Sengoku was shocked. After gradually realizing that Kizaru was not joking, Sengoku was inevitably shocked by the truth revealed by this news.
A 15 or 16-year-old world-class swordsman.
Unbelievable. If this gets out, countless swordsmen in the whole sea will be boiling. Including the current world's #1 swordsman Haki. It's not that Sengoku's psychological quality is too poor. Over the years, he has also seen many talented geniuses. But there is no genius like Luen. This is no longer a genius. It's a monster. Marshal Sengoku, you may have misunderstood. Luen, this kid, not only escaped from the Vinsmoke family's base camp, he even split the Germa kingdom in half with one sword. The Vinsmoke family naturally took the initiative to admit defeat. That is to say, Luen, this kid, overthrew the entire Vinsmoke family with his own strength. Moreover, he used absolute force to force the Vinsmoke family to lower their proud heads and surrender. Now, I am preparing to replace this stinky boy, help him clean up his ass, and deal with the current mess. Go and renegotiate with the Vinsmoke family. Kizaru felt a headache and distress when he thought of these things. He was not good at dealing with these things. Usually, he would just let his men deal with it. He didn't expect that at this moment, he would have to clean up his own nephew's ass. Did the Vinsmoke family surrender? Sengoku could understand this. After all, even the base camp, the Germa kingdom, was split in half by one sword. It can be seen from here. How terrifying is the strength of this man who split the Germa kingdom. Unless the Vinsmoke family has a hole in their brains. Otherwise, they will never dare to act rashly again. It is reasonable for them to surrender voluntarily. Wait, at this time, Sengoku suddenly thought of another question? He subconsciously lost his voice. Doesn't this mean that your nephew Luen, at the age of only 15 or 16, has a terrifying combat power comparable to that of a Marine Admiral? Kizaru responded. It seems so. However, I haven't fought with Luen, so I don't know whether he really has the combat power of an admiral. But even if it's not good enough, conservatively speaking, this kid's strength is at least at the level of the 7 warlords of the sea. Moreover, it is the top level of the 7 warlords of the sea. Compared to the world's #1 swordsman Haki, it is only stronger. After listening, Sengoku couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. His heart was shaken. He opened his mouth, and for a moment he didn't know what to say to ease his shaking mood at the moment. Is your nephew probably grown up on hormones? This is 15 or 16 years old. Is this the level of strength that a 15 or 16-year-old boy can have? Too exaggerated. It's outrageous, Sengoku yelled in his heart. For a long time, he suppressed his shaking mood a little, and ordered Kizaru. In this case, the matter over there will be fully handed over to you. By the way, I promised Luen before that I would take the initiative to nominate him as the Vice Admiral of the headquarters and ensure that he will become a Marine Vice Admiral within 2 years. Let me tell you about this first. Next, I will convene a meeting of the Marine senior management to discuss how to deal with Luen next. Judging from the fact that he defeated the Vinsmoke family by himself, he will most likely be promoted to Naval Headquarters Commodore. I believe that it won't be long before, maybe within a year, he may become Vice Admiral. By then, he will be the youngest Vice Admiral in the history of Marine. I'm afraid your uncle, the Admiral, is under a lot of pressure, because in a short time, this kid may pull you down and become the new Marine Admiral. Given the monster level of this kid, don't think I'm exaggerating, because this kid really has such strength and qualifications. Sengoku was amazed. He seemed to have seen it. The youngest Admiral of Headquarters in history is about to be born. Luen, a real monster. That's it. As Sengoku's order was issued, Kizaru was in charge of the matter, and he represented Marine and Vinsmoke family to negotiate again. This time the negotiation went much smoother. The kingdom of Germa was split in half by a knife. Even if the Vinsmoke family was bold, he didn't dare to cause trouble again. What's more, the representative sent by Marine this time was Admiral of Headquarters Kizaru. One of the top combat forces of Marine. Give the Vinsmoke family 100 courages, and they dare not cheat in front of Kizaru. So, the negotiation went smoothly, and Luen, the person involved, had already run back to the chair on the warship and lay down, drinking drinks and tasting delicious desserts in a very comfortable and leisurely manner. Negotiations with the Vinsmoke family, such a troublesome matter, had been made by Luen and completely forgot about it. As for the outcome of the negotiation, he didn't care about it either. Anyway, he had already completed his own mission. As for the missions of others, let's be realistic. None of my business. This is what Luen thought. At the same time, as the news that the Germa kingdom, the base of the Vinsmoke family, was split in half by a sword spread, the news spread throughout the entire North Pass in a short time. It caused the countless forces of the Dark World in North Blue to feel shocked, panicked, and unbelievable. Text day. The Germa kingdom was actually split in half by a sword? Are you sure? You are not kidding? That's the base of the Vinsmoke family? The Germa kingdom, which consists of 10 giant warships, never thought that one day it would be split in half by an unimaginable terrifying swordsman. Split in half. This time, the Vinsmoke family really suffered a heavy loss. The Germa kingdom was built by them with countless efforts and time. But now it has suffered the fate of being split in half by a sword. Presumably, the subsequent repair work, etc., will require more time, manpower, material resources, and financial resources. Who exactly is this great swordsman? Could it be that Haki appeared in North Blue? That's not right. Wasn't the Vinsmoke family negotiating with Marine at the time? Even if the negotiations failed, it shouldn't be Haki who took action against the Vinsmoke family, right? In a heated discussion, the truth was revealed, in an instant. The entire North Blue was fully detonated. Unbelievable. The unidentified great swordsman who split the Germa kingdom with one sword turned out to be the boy who went to the Germa kingdom on behalf of Marine to negotiate with the Vinsmoke family. A boy who was only 15 or 16 years old. Chapter 63 Haki's attention. Doflamingo is silent, please customize. North Blue. Dark World. As the spies who were sent out to closely follow the negotiations between the Vinsmoke family and Marine returned and brought back the news of what they had witnessed, a great turmoil immediately occurred in the Dark World of North Blue. The one who split the Vinsmoke family's base, the Germa kingdom, with one sword was actually a 15 or 16-year-old boy. Luen, the nephew of Admiral Kizaru? How could there be such a terrifying monster in this sea? A 15 or 16-year-old world-class swordsman? Unbelievable. Did the Vinsmoke family lose? Not just a simple loss, but a miserable defeat. The 15 or 16-year-old boy overthrew it with his own strength. Even the Germa kingdom was split in half. Marine is worthy of being the ruler of this sea after all. I didn't expect a 15 or 16-year-old Marine boy to be so terrifying. I'm afraid this person's swordsmanship level is not much worse than that of the world's #1 swordsman. Countless giants of the Dark World were shocked, terrified, and uneasy. The Vinsmoke family, the king of North Blue, was chopped down by the 15-year-old monster boy in the Marine. If they were in their place, if they really ran into this Marine boy one day, I'm afraid the result would not be much better. Thinking that there was such a terrifying monster hidden in the Marine of North Blue, these people rooted in the Dark World felt a tingling scalp and a chill. They had to give orders. Let the people under them behave themselves in the near future. Don't make trouble again. Especially, don't provoke Marine. Don't provoke Marine. Important things are said twice. If they provoke Marine and provoke that monster boy to take action, then it will be their turn to suffer. Just like the Vinsmoke family, even their own base camp was chopped in half by a knife. If you don't want to die, during this period, don't let your men act too rampantly. Once you encounter Marine, you should stay as far away as possible. If you encounter that monster, you can only hope for the best. But with a monster of this level, first think Marine will not let him continue to work in North Blue. It is estimated that he will be transferred to Grand Line soon. With such terrible strength and swordsmanship, why don't you go to Grand Line to make a name for yourself, but hide in small North Blue to bully others? Listen carefully. During this period, no one is allowed to provoke Marine without authorization. Otherwise, once you attract the attention of that monster, I will definitely peel off your skin. Due to the terrifying strength of Luen, it has created an unparalleled deterrent force for all forces in the dark world of North Blue. They panicked and repeatedly ordered and scolded their subordinates. Is the new Mach family strong? Of course they're strong. But, even the Vinsmoke family was chopped down by that monster one by one. They don't think they can be stronger than the Vinsmoke family. So, if you don't want to destroy yourself, you must not provoke the Marine of North Blue during this period. Especially that monster, don't let them run into it. In a short while, all the forces that were originally rooted in the dark world of North Blue, even their own businesses and industries, have restrained a lot, become law-abiding, honest, and conscientious. All, just because of Luen, as if Luen is relying on his own strength to deter the entire dark world of North Blue to become honest and dutiful. Such influence and deterrence are terrifying. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, 2 days have passed. 2 days later. The headquarters of the World Economic News Agency. This is a newspaper that specializes in reporting all major events in the world. Anything big or small will inevitably be caught by the newspaper and reported to the world. The president of the Economic News Agency is named Morgans. He is a person with the ability to eat the bird fruit in the albatross form. He is very powerful. At the same time, his ability to directly detect news is outstanding. There is another identity. Morganus is one of the emperors of the dark world. According to rumors, in this world, there is nothing that Morgans dare not report. Even if these news are unfavorable to the world government, or are black spots, Morgans will choose to report them without scruples. In short, this is a brave man who dares to face any strong enemy and still insists on reporting the truth so that everyone in the world can see the truth clearly. As a news media person, Morgans is undoubtedly very outstanding. And on this day, a piece of news from North Blue was delivered to Morgans at the first time. The news was marked by his subordinates as having the weight of causing a sensation in the world. North Blue, Vinsmoke family, and the Don Quixote family is involved? Negotiating with Marine, a teenager named Luen, only 15 or 16 years old, overthrew the entire Vinsmoke family with his own strength and one sword? Seeing the news from his subordinates, Morgans was shocked and stared at the content below the news. One sword, split the entire Germa kingdom, split it in two, split it in half. This is only 15 or 16 years old, but the level of swordsmanship has reached the world's top swordsman. A monster with unimaginable talent. Hiss Morgans couldn't help but take a breath, and his heart was shocked.
No doubt, the news from his subordinates from North Blue shocked Morgans. Finally, he saw a mark at the end of the news. This is a monster that can rival the world's #1 swordsman, Haki Mahawk.
Seeing this, Morgan's heart was shocked. A 15 or 16-year-old boy, whose swordsmanship level is close to the world's #1 swordsman, Haki. Is this possible? Morgan subconsciously wanted to deny this possibility. But the news from his subordinates could not be false. It also said that many people witnessed the scene of the Germa kingdom being split in half by a sword. Has another extremely terrifying monster emerged from this sea? Morgans took a deep breath and was deeply moved, at this moment. He did not hesitate to publish this news in the latest issue of World News Report. This is undoubtedly a news that can shock the world. He can make accurate judgments. As a news media person, he certainly knows which news are most likely to attract widespread attention from the world. Obviously, this 15 or 16-year-old boy named Luen, the other party's actions have the potential to attract widespread attention and discussion from the world. Stop the work at hand. I'm going to give you an important task. Publish this report in the latest issue of World News. I have a feeling that this young man named Luen will become a big man in the Marine in the future. Morgan solemnly ordered a group of his men, at the same time. East Blue, which is thousands of miles away from North Blue and separated by a doldrum, is known as the weakest sea area among the 4 seas. Whether it is West Blue, North Blue, or South Blue, most of the pirates' bounties are as high as hundreds of millions. Only East Blue, where the pirate with the highest bounty does not even reach hundreds of millions, is also known as the weakest sea area. As for the reason, it should be because the legendary marine hero Garp often returns to his hometown in East Blue. The endless ocean. A small raft slowly floated from a distance. On the raft, a thin middle-aged man sat on a classical western chair, holding a newspaper and reading it carefully. He wore a black hat and a black and pink cape. The most conspicuous thing was that he carried a very slender samurai sword on his back. The horizontal bar at the handle was very long, making the whole samurai sword look like a cross. At this moment, the middle-aged man was sitting with his legs crossed, holding the newspaper with both hands and reading the contents carefully. Kizaru Admiral's nephew Luen, a boy who is only 15 or 16 years old. The world's top swordsman. Seeing the content of the report, the middle-aged man's sharp eagle-like eyes suddenly flashed with a little surprise. This person is one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Dracul Mahawk. Nicknamed Haki. Recognized as the world's #1 swordsman. What an incredible young man. At such an age, he already has such an amazing level of swordsmanship. Even I was far inferior to him back then. Haki looked at the report above and became quite interested in the young man named Luen. $50. When he saw, even the Germa kingdom was split in half by this young man. Hawkeye's sharp eyes flashed with brilliant brilliance, and a trace of fighting spirit emerged in his heart, wanting to fight with this young man named Luen.
Since Red Hair lost his arm, I have never found a swordsman with the same level of swordsmanship in this sea, who can fight with me with pure swordsmanship. As the saying goes, it's lonely at the top. Hawkeye hasn't fought with a swordsman of the same level for a long, long time. For a great swordsman of his level, it's a very boring and lonely thing to have no enemy to fight with him. He longed to meet a stronger swordsman. He longed to fight with a stronger swordsman. In this way, to hone his swordsmanship and reach a higher level. Even though he was on the throne of the world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye never forgot to remind himself all the time. Swordsmanship is endless, and what he needs to do is to constantly climb to a higher level of swordsmanship. To make his swordsmanship level higher and higher. What a pity. Ever since Red Hair lost his arm from East Blue, Hawkeye has never fought with Red Hair again. After all, Red Hair lost an arm, and for Hawkeye, fighting with Red Hair in this state is meaningless. Judging purely by swordsmanship, even someone as strong as Red Hair is still not as good as Hawkeye. But if he hadn't lost his arm, Red Hair could still be Hawkeye's swordsmanship opponent. This boy named Luen might have a higher level of swordsmanship than Red Hair back then. In that case, I can look forward to meeting him one day. Hawkeye thought. He didn't care. The headlines on the report, such as, a boy who is on par with the world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye's title as the world's greatest swordsman is about to be lost. Shocking. The 15-year-old boy's swordsmanship is far better than Mahawk. Hawkeye didn't take these headlines too seriously. Of course, although he didn't care too much, the existence of these headlines did arouse a certain fighting spirit and competitive spirit of Hawkeye, and he was looking forward to meeting the 15-year-old world-class swordsman in the report. In North Blue, too far. When he thought of the other party's location, Hawkeye couldn't help shaking his head. TJ. There will always be a chance to meet in the future. New World. This is the second half of the Grand Line. It is also the only sea that is not ruled and governed by Marine. There are 4 emperors who rule the New World, called 4 emperors. They are 4 super powerful pirate groups. Whitebeard, Beast, Big Mom, Red Hair. The pirate groups led by the 4 super strong men divided the entire New World sea area and ruled their own territory. Even a strong marine who came to the New World did not dare to provoke these 4 emperors. In the New World, there is an island known as Love, Passion and Toys, on which there is a kingdom called Dressrosa. This is a kingdom with a strong holiday style. There are young and beautiful girls everywhere, and young people from all over the world come here to experience the local customs of Dressrosa. And the one who rules the entire Dressrosa is the famous Don Quixote family. King's Highland. This is where the Don Quixote family lives. The king of Dressrosa, Doflamingo, also lives here. Outsiders are prohibited from entering. Only the main members of the Don Quixote family, including the cadres, can enter and leave the King's Highland freely. On this day, as one of the highest cadres of the Don Quixote family, Toripal was dragging his sloppy and dirty body and hurriedly running into the King's Highland. The snot on his nose was floating in the wind, revealing his ugly face full of anxiety. After a while, Toripal came all the way to the hall of the King's Highland. Seeing Toripal, the highest cadre of the family, so hurried and anxious, the other cadres of the Don Quixote family looked a little puzzled. Among them, Pika, Gladius, Garand and other cadres all cast their eyes. I saw. Toripal hurriedly ran into the office of the young master of the Don Quixote family. Doflamingo, who was lying on the chair, crossing his legs, looking up, and resting, was soon awakened by Toripal's clumsy movements. What's wrong? Doflamingo raised his eyebrows and looked impatiently at Toripal, who suddenly broke into the office. Wearing a pink sweater, very good, Doflamingo looked like a flamingo, with short golden hair, and a very unique dress. He wore a pair of sunglasses to cover his sharp pupils. Master, something bad has happened. Toribal sniffed his nose and blurted out with a look of fear and trepidation, the Vinsmoke family has lost. The negotiations with Marine have failed. Marine sent a boy who was only 15 or 16 years old to represent Marine and the Vinsmoke family in negotiations. But the Vinsmoke family, I don't know if it was premeditated, took the lead in attacking the boy. Then, the boy named Luen is the culprit who destroyed the arms deal between us and the Vinsmoke family. The nephew of Admiral Kizaru. He actually split the entire Germa kingdom with a single sword. He destroyed the base camp on which the Vinsmoke family has relied for so many years. That is the Germa kingdom with a diameter of tens of kilometers. It was actually split in half by that 15 or 16-year-old boy with just one sword. It's unbelievable. Quote. After the words fell, Doflamingo's pupils shrank. He immediately stood up from his chair, staring at Toripal, and said in a low and somewhat horrifying voice, "What did you say?" Hearing Toripal's words, Doflamingo seemed to think of something. The first thing that came to his mind was that some time ago, a great swordsman with an unknown identity passed by Pinglu Island and forcibly split the entire island with one knife. This matter has been lingering in Doflamingo's heart, making him unable to let it go. After all, Pinglu Island is the largest slave trading base opened by the Don Quixote family in North Blue. Suddenly, the island was cut off by an unidentified great swordsman with a knife, and the slave industry was also destroyed by Marine. Doflamingo was deeply saddened by this. He has been thinking about a question during this period. Who was that unidentified great swordsman? Never expected. When the truth surfaced, it completely subverted Doflamingo's worldview. Chapter 64. Decision of the Marine Executives. Judge Luen, please customize. To this day, Doflamingo still can't forget the news that his men sent back from North Blue some time ago, involving the unknown great swordsman. A suspected Haki, a world-class great swordsman with the world's top swordsmanship. But Haki is in East Blue, and it is unlikely that he will rush to North Blue in a short time. After excluding the possibility of Haki, Doflamingo racked his brains and couldn't think of who it was. Until now, he suddenly learned from his subordinate Trebol. The Vinsmoke family was defeated. The kingdom of Germa was split in half by a sword. The news that came one after another undoubtedly caused an uproar in Doflamingo's heart. That nephew of Admiral Kizaru, a boy of 15 or 16. He overthrew the entire Vinsmoke family with his own strength. He even split the entire Germa kingdom in half with one sword. Are you sure you are not kidding? How is it possible? Doflamingo stared at Torpal, his words full of disbelief. It's not like he has never been to the Germa kingdom. He knew how huge the Germa kingdom was. The Germa kingdom, which consisted of 10 giant warships, was like a small town. There were factories, residential areas, etc. It was completely a small town. And that 15 or 16-year-old boy actually split the entire Germa kingdom with one sword. What kind of concept is this? How can a 15 or 16-year-old boy have such an amazing swordsmanship level? Even if his swordsmanship talent is high, can it be higher than that Haki? But even Haki Mahawk, at this age, is far from having such an amazing swordsmanship level. Even if the age limit is put aside, Haki, who is now the world's #1 swordsman, probably has only this level of swordsmanship. Now you tell me, a 15 or 16-year-old boy actually has a swordsmanship level that is comparable to the world's #1 swordsman. Are you crazy? Or am I crazy? Doflamingo raised doubts one after another. According to the information from his subordinates, that 15 or 16-year-old boy at least has a terrifying combat power that is comparable to the 7 warlords of the sea. Even, it is still the combat power at the top level of the 7 warlords of the sea. Even a strong person like Doflamingo feels pressured. A young man could be so powerful. Master, many people in North Blue witnessed this. Obviously, this news is unlikely to be false. Seeing his young master Doflamingo's loss of composure, Torrebel responded cautiously. Hearing this, Doflamingo fell silent. FFLX. The mysterious swordsman who cut 437 North Blue Pingxi Island with one sword. Destroyed the slave trading base built by our North Blue. In fact, he is the nephew of this Kizaru admiral. A 15 or 16-year-old boy. Although the culprit was found, Doflamingo was not happy at all. The culprit who destroyed the largest slave trading exchange in North Blue was so powerful that even Doflamingo was helpless and somewhat helpless. Not to mention, there was a Marine Admiral standing behind the other party. The powerful swordsmanship level currently displayed by the other party alone was enough to make Doflamingo felt palpitations and fear, and dared not act rashly. The great swordsman who could destroy the entire island with one sword was obviously ranked among the top 3 in the world, and was a real monster of the sea. Facing such a strong man, even Doflamingo did not dare to say that he could win for sure. Although the largest slave trading base in North Blue was destroyed, causing heavy losses to the Don Quixote family. However, the Don Quixote family was a big family, and Doflamingo would not go all out to target the world-class great swordsman for this little loss. Not to mention that there was no absolute chance of winning. Even if there was a sufficient chance of winning. For this little loss of interest, it was very uneconomical to provoke a monster of that level. A monster who is only 15 or 16 years old, whose swordsmanship level is better than Hawkeye's. There is also an admiral of headquarters standing behind him. Whether it is talent, strength, or background, it is almost impeccable. Doflamingo's heart sank. Undoubtedly, the fact that Luen was the mysterious swordsman who split the Hiroshima island caused a great psychological shock to Doflamingo. What he couldn't accept was that, even if a 15 or 16-year-old boy started practicing swordsmanship since his mother's womb, it would be impossible for him to hone his swordsmanship to this level, right? Could it be that there are really so-called swordsmanship geniuses in this world? Genius. No. This is simply a monster. Doflamingo didn't want to continue to offend such a monster. Doing so would not benefit the Don Quixote family at all. Even the Vinsmoke family was defeated miserably. And the monster split the Vinsmoke family's base in half with one knife, which can be said to be a heavy loss. In comparison, although our Don Quixote family lost one of the largest slave trading bases in North Blue. But compared to the Vinsmoke family's Germa kingdom being split in half, our loss can be said to be negligible. Now, the Vinsmoke family has taken the initiative to surrender and give in to Marine, and dare not continue to fight with Marine. CJFG. We can't just go our own way. Doflamingo regained some calm thinking. Although he was still deeply angry and hostile to Luen, this did not prevent him from actively showing goodwill to Marine and turning everything into jade. Turn the war into jade with the monster named Luen. A monster swordsman with such terrifying strength deserves Doflamingo's extra attention. Although he didn't expect to be on good terms with the monster, at least he couldn't cause too much disgust from the monster. It would be best if the monster didn't target the Don Quixote family from now on. Pass my order down. Doflamingo looked at Torpal and issued an order to all members of the Don Quixote family. From today on, the grudges between the family and Luen, the nephew of Kizaru Admiral, will be written off. No one can provoke this monster again. Let all members of the family remember one thing. This kind of monster is no longer something that our Don Quixote family can provoke at will. Quote. His strength is considered the best in the entire New World. We must not take the initiative to provoke such a powerful monster, so as not to bring disaster upon ourselves. Do you understand? After listening, Torpal was shocked and stared at his young master Doflamingo in front of him. For a moment, he felt mixed emotions. In his mind, his young master Doflamingo should be fearless. I never thought, one day, the arrogant and proud young master Doflamingo would bow to someone. It all seemed a bit magical. But when I thought of the terrifying strength of the monster named Luen, it was powerful enough to split the entire island and the Germa kingdom with one knife. Suddenly, Torpal understood clearly in his heart. Indeed, this level of monster is no longer something that their Don Quixote family can provoke at will. It is the right way to turn hostility into jade and stop losses in time. Yes, way. Torpal lowered his head bitterly. No doubt. This was the first time that the Don Quixote family had bowed to one person. The sea was blue and boundless. The sky was clear. The golden halo fell down, sparkling, and the sea surface was rippled with the breeze. Naval Headquarters, Marineford, Marshal's office. Early in the morning. Boom boom boom. The sound of the den den mushi resounded throughout the huge office. Sengoku, who had been lying on the chair for a long time, picked up the den den mushi and answered it. Soon, he heard a voice full of resentment. Sengoku, I really don't know what kind of shit luck you have. After listening, Sengoku was slightly stunned. He reacted quickly and realized who the person on the other side was. Judge. Yes. The person on the other side was the head of the Vinsmoke family, Vinsmoke Judge. One of the scientists of the former World Government Research Group. After 2 days of negotiations, the negotiations between the Vinsmoke family and Marine were initially formed. As for the content of the negotiations, it was led by Admiral of Headquarters Kizaru. As a Marine Admiral, Kizaru was busy with affairs and naturally could not be responsible for the whole process. He just took the lead. Then, Marine sent professional personnel to negotiate with the Vinsmoke family. It took 2 full days of tug of war before a consensus on the negotiations was reached. In response, the aggrieved judge came to Sengoku to complain and vent. If you Marines hadn't been so lucky, and had dug up an unimaginable monster from nowhere, our Vinsmoke family would never give in to you Marines. That monster is really something I've never seen in my life. A world-class swordsman who is only 15 or 16 years old, can you believe it? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have imagined that such a young boy could have such an amazing swordsmanship level. Judge complained a lot, chattering non-stop. Ha ha ha. Listening to Judge's complaints, Sengoku couldn't help laughing. His words were full of pride and relief. You can't envy it. Luen's talent is so high that it can be said that he is rare in the ocean for 10 years. Or even rare in 100 years. A world-class swordsman of 15 or 16 years old. Even I have never thought of this possibility. I don't know how this boy usually practices. I have a hunch. Hawkeye's title of the world's #1 swordsman will soon be lost. With Luen's current level of swordsmanship, he can definitely challenge the throne of the world's #1 swordsman. However, based on my understanding of this boy's personality, he probably doesn't bother to do such troublesome things. When Sengoku thought of Luen's personality, he immediately felt a little headache. He is really too lazy. Compared to Kizaru, he is even better than his teacher. For this kind of lazy Marine, if the other party is not talented, Sengoku can still treat him with a normal heart. But the problem is, Luen's talent is too terrifying. At the age of 15 or 16, he already has the world's top 3 swordsmanship level. Such talent and qualifications are rare in a century. If cultivated, a monster of this level will definitely be able to reserve a position as a Marine Admiral in the future. And it is very likely to become the youngest Admiral in the history of Marine. It's a pity. This kid is too lazy. This makes Sengoku helpless. Okay, Sengoku, don't take advantage of it. Do you really think I don't know that you are already very happy? I came to you this time just to make you understand one thing. Our Vinsmoke family did not lose to you, nor did we lose to you Marine. We just lost to that monster. That's it, no more. With endless resentment in his heart, Judge took the initiative to hang up the Den Den Mushi communication. Sengoku laughed dumbly. Tit, he really had to admit what Judge said. The Vinsmoke family did not lose to Marine, but simply lost to Luen alone. After thinking about it, Sengoku dialed the Den Den Mushi again and gave instructions to his subordinates. Notify the senior management of Marine to participate in the meeting. A moment later, a meeting initiated by Sengoku, the Marine Marshal, with more than 90% of the Marine senior executives was held. After arriving at the meeting room, many Marine senior executives had already gathered here. All eyes turned to Sengoku. The meeting officially began only after Sengoku took his seat. The reason why I called you all to participate in the meeting is purely for one thing. Everyone already knows, right? Kizaru's nephew Luen has done things that are more terrible and more influential than the last one during this period. Here, I need to make one thing clear to everyone. Regarding this kid Luen, I am ready to nominate him as the next Marine Vice Admiral. It is expected that within 2 years, this kid will be promoted to Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. Do you have any objections to this? Raise your hands to vote. Sengoku looked at all the Marine senior executives participating in the meeting. The people gathered here are Admiral of Headquarters Akainu Sakazuki, Marine Admiral Aokiji Kuzan, Vice Admiral Ghost Spider, Vice Admiral Fire Mountain, Vice Admiral Doberman, Vice Admiral Flying Squirrel. In short, almost 90% of the senior personnel of Marine have gathered in this small conference room. All for the purpose of discussing Luen. After a while, everyone began to vote by raising their hands. More than 90% of the votes passed. So far, Luen has been nominated as Vice Admiral of Naval Headquarters. In 2 years, promoted to Vice Admiral, the record of the youngest Vice Admiral in the history of Marine has been booked in advance. Okay, Sengoku showed a satisfied smile. Also, I propose to raise Luen's official rank to a higher level. Now, he is just a Marine Colonel. I propose to promote his official rank to Marine Commodore. Quote. And transfer him from North Blue to Naval Headquarters. A strong man of his level is no longer suitable to continue to serve in North Blue. This is a pure waste of manpower and material resources. Such a strong man should join Naval Headquarters. What do you think? Hearing this, both Akainu and Aokiji, as well as a group of vice admirals nodded in approval. In recent days, Luen's reputation has long been resounding throughout the sea, and even these high-ranking Marine personnel of Naval Headquarters Marineford have also heard of Luen's reputation. They all know. Luen, the nephew of Admiral Kizaru, this boy who is only 15 or 16 years old, is such a terrifying monster. How strong is his strength? How terrible is his swordsmanship? Such a strength continues to serve in North Blue's Marine Colonel is indeed too shabby. It's just right to be transferred to Naval Headquarters. As for the promotion of Luen to Marine Commodore, no one objected. Passed unanimously. Compared with letting Luen nominate Vice Admiral, letting Luen be promoted to Commodore seems a bit painless. By the way, Marshal Sengoku, in the past few years, there have been fewer and fewer young talents joining the Marine. Now, there just happens to be a genius monster like Luen, the nephew of Admiral Kizaru. I think it is necessary to promote him. In this way, it can also be regarded as a signboard for our Marine. Let more people understand and join our Marine. Luen Commodore, just suitable to be the face of our young generation of Marine. To attract more young people to join Marine. A Vice Admiral suggested. Sengoku's eyes lit up. Good. This proposal is good. After a fierce exchange of Marine executives, finally, a Marine Commodore codenamed Arbitrator was born. Marine Arbitrator, Luen. Chapter 65. The Reputation of the Judge. Transferred to Naval Headquarters. Please customize. Time flies. Another day has passed. Early morning. Grand Line, Alabasta. This is a kingdom with drought all year round. Secretly, it has been completely ruled by Baroque Works. At this time, Crocodile, the president of Baroque Works, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, the Logia sand fruit ability user. Today, he suddenly brought a latest notice from the outside world published by Marine. Marine Judge, a boy of 15 to 16 years old. Crocodile looked at the content in the newspaper, raised his eyebrows, and looked a little suspicious, a Marine from North Blue. Moreover, he has a distinguished record of defeating the Vinsmoke family alone. He once slashed the Vinsmoke family's base camp, the Germa kingdom. This level of swordsmanship. Seeing this, Crocodile was secretly shocked, his eyes solemn. This level of swordsmanship made him think of Haki, who was also one of the 7 warlords of the sea and was known as the world's greatest swordsman. A boy of 15 or 16 years old, his swordsmanship level is already on par with Haki. What a monster. Quote. Crocodile was quite surprised. However, the other party is in North Blue, and he should not have any intersection with him. So there is no need to pay extra attention to this monster. If he really encounters it one day, Crocodile feels that with his cautious character, he should still be careful and never conflict with this monster. It's not that Crocodile thinks he can't beat the other party. It's just, there's no need. At the same time, the title of Marine Judge has caused a series of waves in the sea. Although it can't be said to be a sensation in the entire sea, there is no doubt that the reputation of Marine Judge has spread to every corner of the sea. Beginning to gain a reputation. Marine Judge Luen, the most terrifying monster of the new generation of Marine. This label has become the recognition of the younger generation of Marine by countless people. As the news spreads East Blue. Logue Town. This is also called the place of beginning and end. The place where Pirate King Roger was born. It is also the place where Pirate King Roger was executed. Logue Town is the last island connecting East Blue to Grand Line. It is considered the most important strategic location of Marine. Every day, leaving Logue Town to Grand Line there are countless pirates on the line. And if you want to be in charge of the Logue Town Marine branch, you undoubtedly need a very strong strength to do it. Otherwise, facing countless pirate groups trying to go to the Grand Line from Logue Town every day, Marine is afraid that it will be powerless. The Marine who is in charge of the Logue Town Marine branch is called Smoker. He is a Marine Colonel. Logia ability user. He also has a nickname called White Hunter. With Smoker in charge of Logue Town, there are very few pirates who can wreak havoc here unscrupulously. Even if there are, they will be easily captured and imprisoned by Smoker soon. As a Logia demon fruit power, Smoker's strength is naturally very strong. In a small place like East Blue, Logia ability users are ceiling level strongmen. So, no matter how many pirate groups come to Logue Town, they are just sending heads to Smoker. This day, the Marine branch of Logue Town. Smoker got a copy from Marine's report. At this time, he was sitting with his legs crossed, resting them on the table, biting a cigar in the corner of his mouth, wearing a white sweater, looking a bit rebellious, and his clothes and temperament were unique. Colonel Smoker, it seems that there is an incredible genius in our Marine. A girl hurried to Smoker's side, wearing very thick glasses, looking a little bit not very smart. I know. Smoker did not turn his head, his eyes were fixed on the content of the newspaper in his hand. Marine Judge. What a big name, he said to himself. I really don't know how that Luen Commodore practiced. He is only 15 or 16 years old, younger than me. But the level of swordsmanship he possesses is actually called by the outside world as comparable to the world's #1 Eagle-Eye Mohawk. He also has a stunning record of splitting an entire island and an entire kingdom with one sword. It's unbelievable. So practicing swordsmanship can make you so strong. The girl standing next to Smoker is named Tashigi, a Marine Major. She is not very strong, but she has a strong talent for processing intelligence. So, Tashigi is often taken by Smoker to do things. Luen Commodore is so strong. I must take Luen Commodore as my goal. Become a swordsman as strong as Luen Commodore. Tashigi's eyes are full of deep admiration. She is a swordsman. Her swordsmanship level is not very strong, but it is not weak either. At least dealing with 3 or 5 pirates with a bounty of hundreds of thousands should not be a problem. Moreover, she has a wide range of knowledge about famous swords. She is very keen on famous swords. 15 or 16-year-old Marine Commodore. Smoker's eyes are slightly absent-minded. He is a Logia demon fruit power, but he is only a Marine Colonel today. Of course, this is related to his personality. He is straightforward and sometimes even disobeys orders from his superiors. He insists on his own way and is ruthless to pirates. This style of doing things has caused Smoker to be trapped in the position of Marine Colonel for many years and he has been unable to make any progress. Now, seeing a young man who has just joined the Marine for only a few months and is only 15 or 16 years old, he has been awarded the rank of Commodore. Smoker can't help but feel a little uncomfortable. But he is not a person who cares about official positions, and he soon felt relieved. If this person really has such a powerful and terrifying swordsmanship and strength, it is reasonable to be awarded the rank of Commodore. Smoker is not a narrow-minded person. Especially. This 15 or 16-year-old Marine Commodore Luen, codenamed Marine Judge, is indeed very powerful. So powerful that the arrogant Smoker couldn't help but express his admiration from the bottom of his heart. A strong man of this level should be transferred from North Blue to Naval Headquarters soon, right? Smoker thought. North Blue. Mushroom Town. As the name of Marine Judge spread across the sea, even the residents of Mushroom Town knew that this Marine genius codenamed Judge was working in the Marine branch of their Mushroom Town. This gave them a full sense of security. Have you heard? That Marine Judge is working in the Marine branch of our Mushroom Town. He is actually the savior who saved our Mushroom Town a few days ago, Colonel Luen. Still call him Colonel. He is now a Commodore. Call him Luen Commodore. A Marine Commodore of 15 or 16 years old. I have to say that Luen Commodore is just like a legend. But it's no wonder. Don't you see what Luen Commodore did a few days ago? He used one man and one sword to overthrow the entire Vinsmoke family by himself. Do you understand how high the gold content is? You know the Vinsmoke family, right? The king of North Blue. The supreme ruler of the entire North Blue. However, such a powerful family was directly overthrown by Luen Commodore alone. It is said that the Germa kingdom, the base camp of the Vinsmoke family, was also directly split in half by Luen Commodore with one sword. Single quote. With such strength, Luen Commodore is undoubtedly the strongest in our North Blue. I really hope that Luen Commodore can stay in charge of our Marine branch in Mushroom Town for a long time. You think too much. Before long, Luen Commodore will definitely be transferred to the Grand Line. After all, our North Blue is still too small to accommodate a big Buddha like Luen Commodore. That's right. However, our Mushroom Town is at least the first stop for Luen Commodore to join the Marine for the first time in his life. Even if we tell others about it in the future, we will be very proud. There was a lot of discussion. Countless residents in Mushroom Town are already accustomed to the name of the arbitrator. The name of arbitrator Luen is like a savior in Mushroom Town. In this regard, even Colonel Karen, who has been the highest commander of the Marine branch in Mushroom Town for more than 10 years, is far less famous than the name of arbitrator Luen. Colonel Karen. Sorry, I don't know him. Arbitrator Luen. If you say this, we won't be sleepy anymore. Colonel Karen, it's not that we have forgotten you. There is really a better choice. A new generation replaces the old one. These days, Colonel Karen is very sad. From the highest commander of Marines respected by everyone in Mushroom Town, he became a small Marine colonel that no one cares about. He wanted to cry but had no tears. The only thing that comforted him was that the person who stole his reputation was a monster who defeated the Vinsmoke family with one sword. Whenever he thought of this, Colonel Karen was relieved immediately. At this time, Marine branch. Good news came early in the morning, causing the entire Marine branch to be noisy and excited. The Naval Headquarters has officially conveyed the appointment letter of the special award of the rank of Colonel Luen Commodore to our Mushroom Town. From today, Colonel Luen is officially promoted to Luen Commodore. Congratulations. However, this is what Luen Commodore deserves. I have no objection and am convinced. Quote. If you can also do it, you can defeat the entire Vinsmoke family with one sword and split the Germa kingdom in half with one sword. I think no one would object to you becoming a Marine commander. That's right. With Luen Commodore's strength, to be honest, a small Commodore is a waste of talent. Congratulations to Luen Commodore for his promotion. The entire Marine branch was in an uproar. Countless congratulatory voices lingered in Luen's ears, and they could not dissipate for a long time. This made him a little helpless. Isn't it just a promotion to a Commodore? Why so excited? Anyway, N didn't feel much. The biggest feeling is the salary has increased, and the treatment has also increased. That's all. It has been 3 or 4 days since Luen left the Germa kingdom and returned to the Mushroom Town Marine branch. Please give me flowers. The Rear Admiral Chris, who was responsible for sending Luen to the Germa kingdom, and his other 3 commodores, 8 colonels, and more than 3,000 Marine elites have also returned to their homes and did not stay in Mushroom Town for too long. As early as 3 days ago, these people had dispersed and returned to their respective posts, sitting in their respective islands and towns. These days, Luen was happy to be free. There was nothing to do. Every day, he would clock in at work, and then slack off. As for writing reports to the Naval Headquarters, Luen directly threw it to Colonel Karen to take charge. Anyway, anything that had to do with trouble was directly kicked away by Luen. These days of slacking off made Luen a little slack, and his willpower was constantly worn away, making him become more and more lazy. He would never sit if he could lie down. He would never stand if he could sit. His main point was laziness. Mission. All rejected. As for the subsequent events of the Vinsmoke family, Luen did not ask about it at all, including the youngest son of the Vinsmoke family, Yongji, one of the highest cadres of the Don Quixote family, Diamante, and his clone soldiers, etc. From the beginning, he was imprisoned in the Marine branch of Mushroom Town. A few days ago, all these people were taken away. If I guess correctly, it should be that the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family both paid a lot to Marine to make Marine release these captured and imprisoned pirates. In short, both families paid to redeem their family members. Luen didn't care about this. He didn't ask. Although these people were captured and imprisoned by him personally, Luen didn't care how others dealt with them. Anyway, it didn't have any impact on him. As long as they didn't disturb him from slacking off at work. As for asking, how much did the Vinsmoke family and the Don Quixote family pay to redeem their family members? This is not something Luen needs to consider. Kizaru was also just responsible for starting it, and immediately returned to Naval Headquarters Marineford. He and Luen talked about the past for half a day. Kizaru also didn't stay in Mushroom Town for too long. This shows that Admiral is still very busy. Luen also disliked being a Marine Admiral. Becoming a Marine Admiral meant that he had to do many things against his will and could not disobey the orders of Marshal Sengoku. If he was a Vice Admiral, it would be hard to say. Occasionally, he could disobey orders, be lazy, and slack off. He did not need to obey the orders of celestial dragons. In short, Luen felt, compared to Marine Admiral, the General was the most suitable position for him. As for whether he could become a Marine Vice Admiral, Luen had no doubt. After all, before this, Marshal Sengoku had nominated Luen as a Vice Admiral. The promise that he would become a Vice Admiral within 2 years was enough to make Luen completely flat and no longer have any fighting spirit. Be a wage thief who did not fight or compete. This was Luen's ultimate pursuit. Luen Commodore, you now have a code name. Karen walked up to Luen with envy. In the Marine, having a code name is definitely what every Marine dreams of. It is the greatest honor for Marine. For example, the current 3 admirals of Marine all have their own code names: Akainu, Aokiji, Kizaru. There is also Vice Admiral, such as Ghost Spider, Flying Squirrel. In short, Marine with code names are basically the top strong men of Marine. The well-deserved backbone of Marine. Marine grassroots are trying their best to get a code name given by the top Marine. Unfortunately, in Marine, people with code names are still rare. Now, Luen has only been in Marine for less than a month and already has his own code name. This naturally makes senior Marines like Karen envious. Code name. Luen doesn't care. Judgment. Marine's judgment. Luen Commodore, your code name is really Haki. Ton. Marine top management really has high hopes for you. Quote. Karen was more and more envious as he spoke, his eyes were red. After a pause, he said with a somewhat sad tone and a complicated look, in addition to your official promotion appointment letter sent to our Marine branch, there is also a transfer letter. After a series of consultations at the top, it was decided to transfer you to the Naval Headquarters. That is to say, you are about to leave North Blue. For this result, Karen naturally felt a little sorry. It would be a very good thing if such a powerful and terrifying combat force could sit in Mushroom Town. It can 100% ensure that Tang Liang and others in Mushroom Town can rest assured. It's a pity. This level of combat power, the Marine top management naturally cannot place it in the small North Blue. This is purely a sledgehammer. It is reasonable that Luen was transferred to the Naval Headquarters. Chapter 66. The days of leisure are not so pleasant. Please subscribe. Closing square bracket. Karen was very envious of the transfer to Naval Headquarters. But Luen didn't care about these things at all. Maybe his salary would increase a lot after he arrived at Naval Headquarters, which was a good thing. At the same time as good things, bad things would definitely happen. The salary was increased, and there would definitely be more troublesome tasks. Forget it, it's just a day. I hope the transferee can come later. According to the rules of the Marine, it is such a big deal to transfer 580 to Naval Headquarters, especially for those who are promoted. Luen will not be allowed to go to Naval Headquarters alone. Because many people who work in the branch have only been to the headquarters a few times. The journey is long and unfamiliar. A special dispatching cadre is needed to come and take Luen back to Naval Headquarters to serve. The title of Marine Arbiter and the documents of the title have only been issued a few days ago. During this period of time, no one in North Blue must dare to make trouble. Luen is still enough to deter for a while. The Vinsmoke family of North Blue will be the most powerful force. Being able to cut off their kingdom's ships with one sword, who can compete with such deterrence? So, as long as the transferred cadres have not arrived, Luen can be lazy and enjoy these days. There is really no discomfort in wasting time in peace. Commodore. Karen wanted to say something, and the Den Dan Mushi on the table next to him rang directly. It was the Den Dan Mushi responsible for contacting Luen. Luen didn't even want to raise his eyelids, and directly raised his hand and pointed to the side and said, Karen, go and answer it, see who it is. If you want to talk to me, just say I'm not here. No business today, your Marine judges should have a good rest. Tisk tisk tisk, comfortable. Luen stretched and lay down on the chair. After becoming a Commodore, the treatment is indeed different. Even his own chair was replaced with a very big leather chair. Karen didn't have such a pomp before, this was completely prepared for Luen. Hello, who is this? Looking for Commodore Luen. He said he's not here. Huh, didn't you understand? Our Marine judge said he's not here. Karen said repeatedly in the Den Dan Mushi. Luen was speechless. With Caron's IQ, I don't know how he got the position of Marine Colonel. When you said you were not here, you answered truthfully. You even included what Luen said himself. Ask who it is, you're such an idiot. See who it is, what do you want to do? It's broad daylight, and it's calm outside, so it must be nothing serious. Quote. Luen changed his tone and asked Ka to ask what was going on. Anyway, it was no big deal, just deal with it casually. Luen Commodore asked who you are. Don't disturb him if it's nothing. What a big show. Is it big? We, Luen Commodore, are the heroes who saved North Blue, what a joke. Who are you? What? Naval Headquarters. Point 3.7 Vice Admiral. Guion. Karen stuttered and repeated the words of the woman in Den Dan Mushi. Speaking of her name made Luen perk up. Guion. He was not unfamiliar with this name. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, and a candidate for the Quasi-Admiral to whom Suru's staff officer treated him like a sister. One of the most powerful Naval Headquarters Vice Admirals. Chapter 67. Someone from the headquarters is here, go and meet them in person. Please subscribe. Closing square bracket. The call at this time was probably related to my transfer back to Naval Headquarters. I'm sorry. Momousagi Vice Admiral, are you really Momousagi Vice Admiral? Yes, I'm an idiot, I'll let Luen Commodore prepare it now. I understand, I can do it. I can definitely do it. Karen was so scared that his legs went limp, and he kept replying on the Den Dan Mushi. After listening to him, Luen probably guessed what was going on. After watching the call hang up, Luen asked, The person who came to pick me up on the 29th turned out to be Momousagi Vice Admiral. You really gave me face. It seems that my life in Naval Headquarters will not be as easy as I imagined. Come in a few days. Let me see how much time I have to prepare. Quote. Luen began to calculate how many of his happy days were left. He lived one day at a time. He could relax and not tire himself out. Luen Commodore, something bad has happened. Momousagi Vice Admiral's warship is already at the port outside the branch. Quote. She's going to take you away now and ask you to meet her at the port. Karen replied tremblingly. This scared Luen. Now, already here. What the hell? As the Vice Admiral always not following procedures. Why shouldn't you notify me in advance and give me some time to prepare? I'm still singing leisurely, and suddenly I have to go to the Naval Headquarters. Luen didn't know how to complain at all. After the rare battle, the leisure and enjoyment he got was now completely broken. And let Luen go to the port now. He wanted to ask if Momousagi had to go through the 2-day procedure when he came to North Blue to pick him up. Luen Commodore, shouldn't we go to greet him immediately? That's the Vice Admiral of the Naval Headquarters, much higher than our level. If we neglect it, we will be guilty. Karen reminded Luen to pay attention to his words and deeds. Among the Marine cadres of North Blue, Luen is the undisputed boss. No one dares to disobey him, he can do whatever he wants. But in the Naval Headquarters, Luen's title of Commodore is really nothing. He doesn't even have the power to speak in meetings. Obeying the orders of the superiors is the duty of a Marine. Okay, take my uniform. Come with me to the port to meet Momousagi Vice Admiral of our headquarters. Does the Vice Admiral of the headquarters want to suppress me in my territory? It's not that easy. Luen said expectantly, but he felt that the situation in front of him was quite interesting. He hasn't arrived at the Naval Headquarters yet, but he has already felt the pressure of the headquarters. I don't know how popular my uncle is in the headquarters. What convenience can it bring to me? Caron's brain is not very good, but he is quick in doing things. Soon, Luen's uniform was prepared. In order to show his respect, Luen brought a team of people with him. Follow him to the branch's port. North Blue has a developed marine business, and the branch's port is also quite large. There are many ships coming and going, and many commercial ships need to get the consent of the marine branch to go out to sea. Only the foreign warships of the headquarters can enter at will without notification. Chapter 68 Momousagi Vice Admiral appears, a female hero. Subscribe. Closing square bracket. When Luen first knew about this rule, he thought about changing it. As a result, he found that if he wanted to change this rule, he had to report it to the Naval Headquarters. Luen put aside such a troublesome matter. Unexpectedly, it became a convenience for Momousagi to enter and exit freely. Arrived at the port, a huge warship was parked at the port. The sea breeze was fierce. Just looking at the scale and momentum, you can know how bold the Marines in the ship are. Squeak, squeak. With the arrival of Luen and his party, the deck of the warship slowly lowered the connection platform. It fell directly to the connection of the port. Dozens of elite Marines with extraordinary momentum came down first with steady steps. They lined up in 2 teams below to guard the position of the connection platform. Not to mention the Marine cadres, even ordinary Marines looked extraordinary. Compared with the Marines of the headquarters, the Marines of the branch are simply a world of difference. People from the headquarters are different. If I have such a group of subordinates, I can be more relaxed. I wonder if I can be assigned some elite soldiers after I arrive at the Naval Headquarters. Luen, who is used to being a hands-off boss, hopes to get some troops from the headquarters. The more subordinates he has, the easier it is to do things, and the more he can do his laziness. Momousagi Vice Admiral came in person, why didn't you inform me in advance? I can also set up a banquet and entertain him. Where is Momousagi Vice Admiral? Marine Branch Commodore Luen came to greet him specially. Luen spoke loudly, inviting Momousagi to come out and meet him. I just saw the welcoming team around, but I didn't see Momousagi people. I don't know what Momousagi is planning. Why is he so grand? Is he dissatisfied with me? Speaking of it, Luen and Momousagi don't have any intersection. It was his uncle Kizaru who worked with Momousagi at the headquarters. I don't know if it was Kizaru's lazy personality that Momousagi couldn't stand. So this dissatisfaction was transferred to Luen. Swish. Luen had just finished speaking. A gust of wind passed by in front of his eyes. A pink figure flashed by, and then the figure was behind him. If Luen hadn't been prepared, he might have taken action directly when he suddenly saw such a scene. He didn't know whether the person coming was an enemy or a friend, and suddenly flew towards him. How could he not react? What a marine judge. Quote. You are so generous, not to mention letting your men answer my phone call. I asked you to come to the port, but you still want to rest. Sure enough, you are very similar to your uncle, lazy, you need to be taught well. A charming woman's voice came from behind. Everyone immediately turned around and saluted the woman. Meet Momousagi Vice Admiral. Meet Momousagi Vice Admiral. Hello, Momousagi Vice Admiral. XOSX. Everyone shouted continuously, even too anxious, and even the voices were not in unison. Listening to Momosagi's opening words, Luen knew that he would definitely not feel good next. Momousagi Vice Admiral, you are really heroic. This is our first meeting, there must be some misunderstanding about the rumors about me. I am also a person who works diligently for Marine, how could I be lazy? Just now, your subordinates were unintentionally rude to you. Quote. Chapter 69. Leaving immediately. Anxious woman. Subscribe please. Discover the top Patek Philippe watches of 2024. Sponsored. Prestige Hong Kong. Of course Luen would not admit that it was his responsibility. If Momousagi goes crazy, the Vice Admiral of the Naval Headquarters is not a vegetarian. After going through so many things, Luen wants very simple things. As long as he doesn't cause trouble for himself, everything else is fine. It's inevitable to say some nice words when you are just idling around. Moreover, people like Luen who have connections should have thought of this a long time ago when they are treated specially by people who don't like them. That's a nice thing to say. Whether the rumors are true or false, it doesn't matter to me. Let's go. Come back to the Naval Headquarters with me. There's no time to waste here, every minute of my 640 is precious. Momousagi didn't give Luen a chance to think, and immediately told him about going to the headquarters. Luen thought that Momousagi would definitely urge him to go to the Naval Headquarters as soon as possible. But Luen didn't have 2 days of comfortable days. How could he leave so easily? Even if he could delay for another day or two, it would be very important to him. Momousagi Vice Admiral, I am of course very happy that the headquarters can support me. It's no problem to go to the headquarters, come with me to the branch to have a good rest first. It must be a hard journey to such a long distance on the sea. I also need to pack up and arrange the affairs of the North Blue branch before I can leave with peace of mind. This is my foundation, and I am the base chief of the branch after all. If I don't arrange it well, I won't feel at ease. Quote. When doing things, you must have a beginning and an end, and you can't give up halfway, isn't that the truth? Luen's eloquent side was directly displayed. The people who heard it were also amazed. They all began to doubt the rumors outside. People outside said that Luen was a lazy person and didn't take military affairs seriously at all. Now, doesn't he look like a serious commander? Even with the opportunity to be promoted, he is not in a hurry to leave. He is still thinking about his own small affairs, and he can only leave after arranging them properly. The responsible image, CJBA, makes many Marines admire him. The people who follow Luen are more proud. It seems that Luen can improve their status while shining. No need, wasn't Karen the base commander before? Next, let him continue to be the base commander. Quote. Momousagi said simply. Yes, Vice Admiral of Jumping Rabbit. After hearing Momosagi's name, Callan immediately saluted and said. Unexpectedly, it has only been a short while, and Callan's position as base commander has returned. Originally, he did not hold much hope. Unexpectedly, now the opportunity has come again. Base commander, it's no problem to hand it over to Callan. I should pack my own things, right? Callan is quite familiar with the affairs of the branch. It's just that I am a loner and have always lived alone. I am the only one who knows where my own things are. I have a lot of personal belongings that I need to take with me. There are a lot of things, it may take a long time to pack. Luen immediately changed his words. I didn't expect Momousagi to be so anxious. Say it suddenly, and he was completely unable to react. If I leave like this, how can I come back in the future? No need to prepare, daily necessities are all on my warship. Let's go, I don't want to say it again. Chapter 70 Doing Good Things Feels Good. Please subscribe. Closing square bracket. Luen thought that Momousagi might not be so easy to talk to. Unexpectedly, he would be so overbearing. He didn't give him a chance to talk or do anything, and decided to set off right away. He was just lying comfortably on the leather chair in the branch. Now he suddenly has to go to sea. Is there any reason? He didn't consider his mood at all, which made Luen quite depressed. Momousagi Vice Admiral, it's not that I don't want to go back with you. But, why are you so anxious? I don't even have time to pack my things. Although you are Vice Admiral, my rank is not as high as yours. But I just made a contribution. Luen wanted to show his own contribution to see if he could temporarily suppress Momousagi. Appointment and promotion, even the appearance of code names. All came from the Naval Headquarters, which at least showed that Marshal Sengoku also knew Luen's contribution. Momousagi could ignore his life or death, regardless of whether he was willing or not. You should also think about how to report back to Naval Headquarters. Result. Luen still miscalculated. He never thought that Momousagi was not the kind of person who would take such a small matter to heart. What about the credit? You are quite strong. I don't mind fighting with you. If you feel that you are not capable of fighting with me, just do as I say and leave now. Momousagi continued to express coldly. If Luen really fought with Momousagi, his future life in the headquarters would definitely not be easy. After thinking for a moment, he simply turned around and walked towards the deck connection platform. Let's go. Jumping Rabbit Vice Admiral is really awesome. I hope you don't let me continue to be promoted in the future. If I become an admiral. Quote. 1919. Luen said threateningly, and it was obvious that he was really emotional. Momousagi couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth. Luen didn't take the other delaying words to heart. Instead, Momosagi's self-confidence that could continue to rise made her interested. Not bad, very ambitious. Let's talk about it when you can surpass me in position. From now on, as a Commodore, you will also become my direct subordinate. Marshal Sengoku has approved this, just go back and report directly. Momousagi gave Luen another heavy blow. Asterisk asterisk. He had just provoked her, and now he told Luen that Momousagi was his direct superior. Is there justice? Is there law? If he had said it earlier, would he still have threatened Dao? It is absolutely impossible. Momousagi Vice Admiral, what I just said, Just treat it as my nonsense, I promise to serve you well in the future. .00. Luen hurriedly changed his words and did not dare to continue. It was obvious that his good situation was wasted by himself. Just now was a good opportunity to show loyalty. Why should I say more? If Momousagi assigns all the dirty work to me in the future, can Luen really refuse? It is really because of a little bit of loyalty that he got a big bad result. Ha ha ha, you change your face so quickly. Let's go, I have already thought about your first mission for you. Let's talk slowly on the ship. Your North Blue career ends here. Look forward to your future life, there will definitely be more interesting adventures waiting for you. Chapter 71. Welcome back, we will continue to protect you. Please subscribe. Closing square bracket. Luen's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. How anxious. He hasn't even picked me up yet, but he's already assigned me a mission. Is that how the Naval Headquarters treats heroes? What should I do in the future after finding myself such a troublesome boss? Momousagi Vice Admiral, aren't you going back to the headquarters to report first? If there are any missions, shouldn't you go back and take a look first? I'll also be familiar with them. After I'm familiar with 403, I can do any dangerous mission. Luen is still trying to bargain. See if there's anything we can discuss. What if I really do what Momousagi says? Aren't all my leisure days and days of clocking in and out gone? Don't think about it, your good days are over. Marshal Sengoku, Chief of Staff Suru, they don't want to see you that much. Your uncle is already a headache for them. It is said that as a nephew, you have to be trained. As for how to train you, I will make all the arrangements. No one can change the facts this time. Momousagi put his hands on his waist and said it very proudly. Luen felt bitter in his heart, but he couldn't say it. The good days are over. Okay, I'm still young and should experience more. Let's go and see where the next trouble is. Luen had nothing to say, so he could only board the ship of Momousagi Vice Admiral. Just when Luen was feeling depressed, a shout came from the shore. Luen Commodore, congratulations on your promotion. Luen Commodore, thank you for saving North Blue, you will always be the hero of North Blue. Luen Commodore, you are always welcome to come back, you will always be the chief in the hearts of the people of North Blue. Thank you, Luen Commodore. Thank you for saving us. The news of the Naval Headquarters warship docking did not need too many rumors from outsiders. Ordinary people could also see it clearly. Many people guessed that this warship was here to pick up Luen. The people came to the port spontaneously and bid their hero a final farewell. Maybe for Luen, it was just an ordinary fight against the enemy. But for the people who really wanted peace and tranquility, Luen was a real hero. These people. Luen looked at the people on the shore. I really didn't expect that they would come here spontaneously. I was just lazy for a while in North Blue. I just showed it once. I actually won the support of so many people. Luen really didn't expect such a result. This kid is so popular. There hasn't been such a talent in the Marine for a long time. Fortunately, I brought him to my command in advance. It seems that his future is really limitless. Seeing the cheers of the people, Momousagi couldn't help but mutter. She didn't expect that Luen's actions would be praised so much. Not only did she not expect it, but she didn't expect it either. 3.2. It seems that doing good things feels really good. Luen waved to the crowd and walked onto Momosagi's ship in a chic manner. On the shore, Karen saluted Luen with tears in his eyes. Luen Commodore, have a safe journey. Thank you for your contribution to the people of North Blue, I will remember it in my heart. In the future, I will definitely follow your instructions and continue to protect North Blue. Chapter 72. Continued suppression, the boss is not easy to mess with. Please subscribe. Closing square bracket. After the mighty group set off. After drifting on the sea for a long time, they came to the vicinity of the upside-down mountain. According to Luen's understanding of Marine, if you want to travel between the four seas, you don't need to cross the upside-down mountain at all. Marine has its own dedicated waterway, why is it so difficult? Choosing this road is naturally Momosagi's own intention. But what is the reason behind it? Luen is now completely in the dark. Logically speaking, Momousagi wants Luen to perform the task. At least, he should first tell him what the key to the task is. 29 In order to make himself feel more at ease, don't wait every day in fear. Luen took the initiative to come to Momosagi's rest cabin. After knocking on the door softly for a while, Momosagi's voice came from inside. Luen, come in, I know you will come to me. The door is not locked, open it yourself. Luen opened the door as he said. Came to Momosagi's office. It's called an office, but it's actually very simple inside. Generally, when you get to the position of Vice Admiral, you get more power. You should enjoy it more, and the cabin should be decorated in a decent way. However, there is no furniture on the Hopping Rabbit. It's even more simple than the ship that Luen took before. Unexpectedly, Momousagi is such a simple person. Momousagi Vice Admiral, hee. How did you know I was looking for you? Don't you think it's time to tell me what to do specifically? I've been waiting for several days, and I've been following the ship for several days. I still don't know anything now, I'm worried. If there is any important task, I can't complete it if I don't prepare in advance. It's better to know how to deal with it if I know it in advance. Luen asked proactively. At least, he is now Momosagi's subordinate, and he should be able to get an answer by asking a question. I knew you would come to ask me. I thought you could hold out for 2 days, but I didn't expect you to be so impatient. It doesn't matter if I tell you, after all, we're going to separate soon. Momousagi wiped her famous sword. Even when she was talking to Luen, she didn't stop. It can be seen that as a great swordsman, she attaches great importance to her sword.
Separated? Really? Am I going to act alone? Luen asked excitedly again. I thought Momousagi would follow me throughout this operation. I was just responsible for doing the hard work. Now listening to what Momousagi meant, it seemed that she was going to act alone. Finally, I can get rid of Momousagi. This rare opportunity must not be wasted. You look like you're very happy. 440 inches. How about I change my mind temporarily? It's not impossible for me to follow. Anyway, I'm just a small character. If you leave quickly, you'll come back quickly. Momousagi saw Luen's excitement and couldn't help but want to suppress his excitement. When Luen heard that Momousagi was going to follow, he said repeatedly. No, 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 since it's a minor role, why do you need the Marine Vice Admiral to come in person? I can definitely complete the task, I'll just go by myself. I don't know, where are we going and who are we going to deal with? Momousagi Vice Admiral, it's time for you to tell me the actual situation, right? Chapter 73 Acting Alone, Destination East Blue, subscribe. Momousagi naturally knew that Luen didn't want to follow by herself. She also had other tasks to prepare for. It wouldn't be a problem if Luen dealt with such a small character. It wouldn't be a good thing for him to stay on his ship all day. Go to East Blue and deal with a guy called Dragon. It's not a difficult task. As a Commodore, it's a waste of talent to ask you to do this. Wait for half a month, when you finish and come back, I'll assign you other tasks. I won't follow you, let you do it alone. Momousagi could see what Luen was thinking. That's why he took the initiative to say it and let Luen deal with it. Dragon. He is the leader of a group of fishmen pirates entrenched in the East Blue Cocoa Village. Because the East Blue Marine is weak and the other side is good at water combat. Many branch Marines that have been conquered have suffered from his attacks. The local Marine Colonel Mouse is in collusion with Dragon. For many years, Dragon has been doing well in several small towns. No one can subdue him. Compared to the Vinsmoke family, Dragon is just a small role. Even the sons of the Vinsmoke family are not as good as him, so how can it be considered a mission? It's just a holiday for Luen in the name of a business trip. In half a month, according to the speed of the Marine warships, it can basically be considered in time. But facing the opportunity to play, Luen naturally has to fight for himself. Momousagi Vice Admiral arranged the task, and the subordinates must naturally complete it well. But we are still in the Grand Line, and I haven't been to East Blue. Once we find the target, it may be a tough battle. We may not sneak in secretly to avoid harming the local people. We need to make a plan. Isn't half a month a bit short? Why don't you give me 1.5 months, or 1 month, Momousagi Vice Admiral? This is my first mission since I followed Momousagi Vice Admiral. I want to complete it well. Luen said it clearly. In fact, everything was for the sake of completing the mission. Only Momousagi could hear what he really wanted to say. Half a month is too short, isn't it? Okay, then 10 days. Come to me and report back. If you waste time, you will have to do tasks all the time and have no time to rest, Momousagi said with a smile. Luen's lazy habit must be changed. He must not be given any chance to change, and must be a diligent cadre under Momousagi. Half a month is enough, no less. Within half a month, our warships are faster and will definitely be able to arrive and complete. Luen didn't expect that Momousagi would answer so ruthlessly. So, he immediately changed his tone. He didn't dare to continue arguing with Momousagi. Otherwise, he might not have half a month's vacation time. Now it's the best performance to honestly agree. Okay, that's enough. Then go down and prepare. The attached warships are ready for you. There are also 500 elite Marines from the headquarters, available for you to deploy. Any suggestions on personnel? Chapter 74 Want to leave? Then you have to fight me? Subscribe? 500 elite Marine soldiers, for a Commodore, is already a large quota of troops. Moreover, for Luen, it doesn't matter how many soldiers there are. He should be able to obey his orders, take care of himself and enjoy life. This is the most important thing. 500 soldiers are enough. I know Momousagi Vice Admiral is very busy, and I don't plan to disturb you. Should I leave today? Speaking of which, Momosagi's character has always been vigorous and resolute. Arrange to pick up Luen, and don't let him delay even 1 to 343. Now that the new mission has been issued, it should be no problem to leave immediately. Mainly, Luen doesn't want to stay on the ship all the time. He has to be pointed out by Momousagi from time to time, and he doesn't know when he will be sent. This taste is not pleasant. After thinking it through, you can understand what you want to do. Ha ha ha, it seems that you are in a hurry to leave? Do you feel uncomfortable around me? Momousagi saw through Luen's thoughts and spoke directly. CJAJ. Even if Luen really felt this way in her heart, she must not admit it. Otherwise, Momousagi would go crazy and who knows what the consequences would be. How is it possible? I have never thought about it. Never. Beside Momousagi Vice Admiral, I can learn a lot. I have also benefited a lot in the past few days, and I want to make more progress. Luen's flattery skills are more powerful than his own methods. Before leaving, Momousagi must not feel uncomfortable. What if she changes her mind and lets others go to East Blue? If I stay with Momousagi, I will really have no chance. HMPH, there is no need to say such flattering words. It is not impossible to leave as soon as possible. There is something you must do before you leave. If you can't do this well, you can't leave. Momousagi said with a hint of meaning. Luen was really curious about what Momousagi was talking about. He had been on the ship for so long, and he hadn't heard of any tasks waiting for him to do. Now, it was suddenly mentioned, 10 is not a good thing to leave. At least, in Luen's mind, Momousagi really wanted him to do it. Oh? Momousagi Vice Admiral has any other tasks arranged? Do you want to eat some fruit or drink? I'll prepare it for you. It's okay for me to do such a small thing, there's no need to trouble others. Luen avoided the topic and didn't dare to pick up Momosagi's words. It's not such a small matter at all, and you don't have to lie to me. It's normal that you can't guess it, because I never mentioned it before. What I want you to do is to compete with me in swordsmanship. You cut off the kingdomship of the Vinsmoke family with one sword in North Blue. I have heard many descriptions of this matter. Only a true swordsman can do this. On this sea, I have never thought of anyone else who can do this except Haki Mahawk. My swordsmanship may not be as good as Hawkeye's, but I don't think I am a bad swordsman. Let's have a fair duel and see what your ability is. Chapter 75 There is no other way. Prepare well, please subscribe. Momousagi looked at Luen with a sharp gaze. From her eyes, it can be seen that she is not joking. Sure enough, all swordsmen are crazy, and they all want to compete. When they see someone who may be better at swordsmanship than themselves, they have to act regardless of the consequences. I thought that everyone was a colleague, and Momousagi would not do this. After a few days, Luen was relieved a lot. Now it seems that she was too far-fetched. No matter how she escaped, she could not escape, and the result was the same in the end. Momousagi Vice Admiral, can I ask you a question? If I don't agree, the consequences will be. Luen hesitated to speak, wanting to hear Momosagi's thoughts. Luen, if you don't agree, I think East Blue's matter can be given to my adjutant. I will arrange tasks for others after I see your true strength clearly. I will never let you act alone before I see your true strength clearly. How can you let your subordinates go out to do tasks without knowing their strength? If you were the superior, would you do this? Momousagi asked Luen in return. The meaning she wanted to express between the words was very clear. If you want to go out alone, you must compete with her in swordsmanship. All other arguments will be discussed later. You are right, and you make sense. A Commodore who has no ability cannot lead a team. Since we are competing, let's stop at the limit. My swordsmanship is actually just average, and the last time was completely a coincidence. Maybe the Vinsmoke family's ship has been in disrepair for a long time, so it was easily cut off. Even if I don't cut it off, they might cut it off themselves. Luen doesn't want others to think he is powerful at all. The more powerful a person is, the greater the responsibility he needs to bear. After a few days of leisure, it is not easy to take on all the responsibilities. You are really good at talking. I like smart people. But I tell you, if you can't beat me in swordsmanship, I will cancel your mission. So if you want to stop after a test, I advise you to give up the idea. Unless you are really willing to stay by my side and obey my orders on weekdays. Otherwise, show your real ability and let me see your strength. Among the Marines, there has never been anyone whose swordsmanship I admire. I hope you can be the first one, so that you can ask me for something in the future. Momousagi took the initiative to say, blocking all the retreat routes for Luen. Want to play tricks and hide your strength? I can't give you this opportunity? After hearing this, Luen cried out inwardly, sure enough, the next action is not so easy. I will definitely not pretend, of course I have to prepare well. Will we affect the normal navigation of the ship if we are on the ship? What if something goes wrong? Luen had no choice but to ask. He could cut off the ship kingdom of the Vinsmoke family. Chopping off a warship is not that difficult and can be done at any time. The top swordsmanship given by the system is not as simple as a decoration.